Ugh. What's up, fuckers? The captain is here. Oh. How's everybody doing today? How's everybody doing today? YouTube side did start, right? Yeah, YouTube side started. We're good. We're good. Oh. I really do be my vibe right now, I'll tell you what. Snooze maxing. That's not too bad. I could kind of go for a little bit of a snooze, but only a tiny one, I think. Ugh. Today I was really nose to the grindstone when it comes to work, so, you know, actually being a diligent little worker boy, you see. Howdy, Mr. Humo the Creamer Noto. Hey, Plants. Still working on my stuff, but I'm playing Warhammer right now. Yeah, a lot of people are playing Warhammer right now. I don't feel too inclined to do it necessarily. I might for like a stream if I'm really feeling it, but otherwise, I don't know. I got other games to play. Me and Morrowind started some fucking Power World last night, and that was fun as fuck. I love me a little bit of Power World. Good to get some of that in my system. And then Lanny and I were playing some Minecraft before stream. You know how it is. How's Mr. Humo doing today? Fine enough. Fine enough. Got a nice dinner, so I'm fed. I'm not sitting here hungry. Time for the Snooties trial to continue. Correct. Here's the deal, fellas. You're getting at least one chapter tonight, but given how monolithic these fucking chapters are, it might just be one chapter. We'll see how Shaboy is feeling at the end of this. I would like to do two, but if I am gassed after this, that's gonna be a no-show, unfortunately. Had a calzone, didn't you? Nah, I had pasta and chicken. Chicken and pasta! You see the news on the pit I dropped? No. I ain't looked at the pit in a minute. I was zoned out, dog. Oh yeah, the person who VA'd, or not voice acted, the voice of Darth Vader died. Unfortunate, unfortunate. Hey, made it to 93 though. That's pretty good. Bro stayed up too late night Mia posting. I stayed up late last night fucking pal posting, brother. I was out there straight up throwing balls at animals and saying, it's time for you to do fighting for me. One chapter of these is like half of the Bible. These chapters are... the chapters are long as fuck. And like, sometimes I feel bad because I'm like, well, I do like 2 chapters of Punch Drunk, but then I'm like, well, Punch Drunk also isn't like 50 million words per chapter, so... Got that. You pastafarian or something? What's the big idea? Where's the pasta in this joint? In my tummy now. I done ate it all. I had burger. Lanny had burger too, and honestly, I kind of wanted a burger myself. But pasta good. You realize we're in the middle of Ace Attorney? I think it's this chapter. Like, the thing is, at the very least, we get to the end of the day in this chapter. So, if we do stop on this chapter, it will be, I think, an okay place to stop? Question marks? Who knows? I wanted to stream yesterday, but, like, I don't know what happened. I just... Time for reading rolled around, and I was sitting there and I was like, fuck, man, I just cannot get into the fucking, like, mindset I would need to read. Bad brain kind of day. Then again, like, Sundays have kind of become like a day off type deal. Tuesdays and Sundays, with Thursdays sprinkled in as a treat if I feel like it. fighting, I just put them in my sweatshops. Yeah, I mean, you know, you can do all the base shit, but like, why would I do that when I could just go out and beat the fuck out of everything? And buy my spheres. All I got was Arby's, that was it. Next time, go to Arby's, get a meat mountain. You wanna put me into a fucking coma, dog? Because I feel like that'd be a good way to do it. Had rice and chicken, was good. Rice and chicken's good. Anytime I'm having rice and like a protein, I like to just make it like a little stir-fry type deal. Throw some mushrooms in there too. A little bit of yum yum on top. Makes me happy. It's all in the meat mountain.
Is the meat mountain a real thing at Arby's?
Added to its unofficial menu in 2014, the Meat Mountain sandwich is only for the daring, writes Fast Company. Okay, tell me what's in it. No, I will continue without supporting. Okay. Its original incarnation contained 8 different meats: Angus steak, bacon, brisket, chicken tenders, corned beef, ham, roast beef, and turkey. That's a lot. One might even say that that's too much. Everything would get muddy at that point. You got a brisket? Brisket's good. Humo the Noodle Nodo. Trials 2 more chapters to do 2. Now we'll see how we feel after 1. Like what timestamp we're at. You put a base in an area that spawns iron ore nodes and slap some mining pals to automine them whenever they respawn. Yeah, I mean, you do that, or, I mean, they added the fucking, what? The ore mining sites. Because, like, I guess in multiplayer, if, like, all the prime node spots are taken up, like, what the fuck are you gonna do? I don't know how efficient they are, but, I mean, that's the thing. Let's check this out real quick. Need another day off for self-care. I mean, I'm usually taking like 2 days off a week. It's rare that I'm doing like a 6-day week. Cause fucking, you know, like I said, Tuesdays and always, and then it's kind of been fluctuating between Thursday and Sundays as being, Thursdays and Sundays being like alternate days when I'm taking off too, but you know, probably should have a bit more like concrete type deal. Cause like part of the issue is sometimes I just don't want to stream because I want to hang around in the Discord, right? Like, obviously Tuesdays because I have fucking shit that I'm doing. Meat Mountain is all the meat they have available in the store. Worked at the Meat Palace. We added lamb to ours. So they just throw everything in. They said, get in there. If you're a protein, you're in. Sounds like Olivia's wet dream. I would take Olivia to go get a fucking the Meat Mountain at Arby's. Can somebody draw that? Can somebody can we get an artist on that? Inko taking Olivia to Arby's for the Meat Mountain. My stomach would hold a revolution if I ate that. My stomach will fucking attack me at the slightest provocation. I'm sure the Meat Mountain would also annihilate me. I've had like 4 so far. Don't forget the desktop thing behind the Minecraft iron bars. I remember the desktop thing. I gotta remember to enable the iron bars though. So I'm gonna do a psyop Morwin. Usually catch the VOD, but I wanted to stop in and say thanks for reading these fics. They get me through the Monday evenings. Well, I'm glad that you find pleasure in them, Jaded. I will continue to do them for the foreseeable future. Ore mining site is amazing. Kind of slow for the first one, but it is good. Well, I mean, it's a nice set it and forget it type deal, right? And plus, you can dictate how many veins there are as a result. Because, like, what? You can assign 3 pals to each one. So you can think of it like mining 3 rocks at a time, I guess. Especially if you get, like, work speed up pals. Like, if you were able to, whatchamacallit, breed up some, I forget who's the best mine-based pal. I mean, you can just do Anubises. Those work perfectly fine. Get some, like, work speed Anubises. That would fucking get you mad metal. The thing is, though, you really don't need a super fuck ton of metal at the end of the day. Unless you're building, like, monolithic bases, I don't think. Or you're trying to build legendary weapons. Those will dip in your reserves pretty hard. Podcast the Discord. I could. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some good stuff that happens in there, but I don't know. Part of me doesn't want to make like everything content. I know, like at this point, I am kind of content brained, where I think like, oh wow, I could if I was smart right now, I'd save this for a stream. But like, you know, hanging with the boys, yeah, sometimes that's all it needs to be, you know. How the introvert became extroverted. Huma noted story. I don't know if I'm extroverted, dog. I'm pretty sure I'm still introverted. I just got an easier time when I know the people I'm with. Is the music still going? Oh yeah, this one's like fucking always quiet as hell. Just skip to the end. There we go. Fun fact, they added the Skibidi toilet burger to McDonald's menu. It's just a double cheeseburger dunked in a used toilet stall. Mmm, delectable. In my mind, why do you love Olivia? Are you asking me? I like her aesthetic a lot, and I feel like I'd fuck with her pretty hard. Not like I would mess with her, but like I could get behind her vibes. You know, after the initial rough opening. Maybe not knowing Discord. Olivia would devour the entirety of the Heart Attack grill menu. Just need a single dig twice with Workaholic and it'll be good. Yeah, but you gotta fucking min-max, Morwin. You're thinking too small. Humo noted? Yeah, I note sometimes. Sure, Mr. Creamer, sure. Look, dog, the 70 pounds of gator ass is just like a fucking the icing on top of the cake. The cake on the cake, if you will. Next time you get you can content farm when I get drunk again. Let's not do that. Let's not do that one. I was reading Snoot Fix while listening to my playlist and I got the idea of Silly Billy, but it's E1 Anon and E4 Anon. Huh. That's not something I ever would have thought of myself, but fair enough. I mean, knowing like the whole story of what Silly Billy is, yeah. Yeah, why not? I kind of now I've got like in my head, I want to see like a fucking shrunk down Anon like boyfriend. That'd be kind of funny. That's a double-decker pound cake. Mr. H takes Olivia to whatever fast food place animated when. Once I start throwing big bucks at people and make them do it. And then it gets uploaded to Snooperoo and everybody's like, I fucking hate this guy. Why is he putting his skinny OC in? Crafting, Anubis. Mining, Anubis. Fighting, Anubis. Planting, Anubis. Watering, Anubis. Electric power, Anubis. Cooling, Anubis. Anubis, Anubis. Anubis is the answer to everything. True. I like Anubis's combat and how he Anubis just has a fucking no, I'm not gonna get hit. Later. Hi everyone, yesterday I drew that Nessie fan art.
Fuck yeah, mate. Fuck yeah.
Ugh, why? If I'm gonna be getting people to animate for me, I gotta pay them bitches. I can't just accept that. That's crazy. Anubisi. Look, you can do whatever you want when they add sex to Power World, alright? I'm not gonna... I'll turn the other way and go fight shit. So you'd shitpost with her too? I don't know. Alright, here's the thing. I don't see myself as much of like a shitposter. I would probably appreciate the art though, you know? I would sit on the sidelines and be like, damn, that one was crazy. I'm thinking long game. No more wind. We gotta burn them out, bright like a star, and then throw them to the wayside when they're done. Fun shit does happen in Discord. Absolutely. I was told my massage was not sent due to message. The message was not sent due to Twitch. Gotta love Twitch, right? Gotta love Twitch. Ain't it already in the game? Pile number 69 and all that? Yeah, no, obviously, like, it says that you fuck the pals, but they have not added the fucking of the pals. I shiver when I think about what modders might be doing behind the scenes, though. It sends a cold chill up my spine. Makes it special if only in the Discord. Yeah. We Twitch elites are struggling, man. I feel bad for the Twitchers over here, because as soon as we do the Fang stream and I turn on monetization over on the YouTube, oh boy, you guys are gonna be in for a fucking ride, huh? They're gonna run you for all you're worth. Might fall asleep before we get to read, but I'll try to stay up. I mean, don't force yourself, dog. VOD's always there if you really need it. Armored Core 6 worth it? I'd say Armored Core 6 is worth it. Is it on sale right now? I enjoyed my time with Armored Core 6. It scratched a nice place on my brain. And if you really, like, I obviously was someone who was really focused on the whole, like, just gameplay aspect. If you're into, like, building and, like, customizing your fucking mecha, dude, there is a ton that you can do with that shit. I envy some of the shit people made in that. Love the story, cannot wait to see how it wraps up. Also dying for the next chapter of Punch Drunk Gator right now. Don't worry, dog. It'll be coming. It comes down the pipeline next week. Unless you mean like the one that Jake's gonna be writing for what, chapter 25 or 26, whatever one he's on right now. In which case, I don't know. I'll go shake him and be like, Jake, I'm caught up in this. I'm caught up in the fic. You need to hurry up, dog. And then he'll like look at me and be like, shut up. And like pinch my lips. Let's be honest, none of those mods are really behind the scenes. Those modders are exhibitionists. They would love to show it off, wouldn't they? Also got a 10,000 bits from Gray with Space Marine and triple exclamation points. Alright, I guess I'm doing a Space Marine stream. Alright, I guess that's coming down the pipeline. I'll gather some people for that later this week. Much appreciated, Gray. Much appreciated. Oh, I just remembered you hit like that 750 badge recently. Dog, you're gonna get like the fucking, or not 750, what is it, 75,000? You're gonna get 100,000 one here soon. And that's ridiculous. I'm gonna buy it later. Fuck. I think from what I've seen, the game looks good, right? The only thing that really grinds my ass about it is, fuck, dude. They really need to add like the 5-day early access. That shit's just really annoying. I know I've talked about that with a couple people in the Discord at this point, but yeah, I don't know. That stuff just kind of rubs me the wrong way. So many ways you can monetize and be fine, but I opted for that. Ugh. It's fully out now. Yeah, I know it dropped today. Is AC6 confirmed content complete? I think? I don't think they were planning on doing any DLCs. At least not as far as I was aware. Grinds my ass. Yeah. I have a way with words, you see. Mars did in fact add it, if I remember correctly. Pal Sexo, huh? Been non-stop reading Student Wanty Fix for the past week. Send help. No. I push you back into the pit. Stay down there. Keep reading. You need to be the one to tell me what's good and what's not good. Put yourself in the breeding pen. I don't think I will. I will not get in the harness. Gonna have to watch the VOD for this one, unfortunately. Have a good night reading, Mr. Streamer. Alright, Jeepers. Rest well. Shame, Helldivers. I was talking to Will about Helldivers. That's Iron Will, a famous author of Born to Inherit the Stars. When we were talking about Helldivers, I haven't played in a while, and he was kind of giving me the lowdown and everything that was going on. It sounds like a very unfortunate situation over there.
I guess you could say that game went to hell. Yeah.
All I have to say is hot coffee when it comes to mods. All I'm saying. What do you mean? What is this? Hot and cold resistant armor. Coffee station. A new crop called coffee. Hot milk. Palworld Wiki. Hot milk is a consumable ingredient. Interesting. Okay, oh my god, this is almost as bad as GTA and the hot coffee issue. GTA and the hot coffee issue. What? Hot coffee minigame is the unofficial name for a minigame in a 2004 action-adventure video game, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. While it's not playable in the official game release, the modding community discovered hidden code that, when enabled, allows protagonist CJ to have animated sexual intercourse with his in-game girlfriend. They done took the sex out of CJ! Goddamn! That's fucked up! Over 90.6k points, Kobold Care win. The most you're gonna get is me and Lanny playing Kobold Care and fucking laughing our asses off in the Discord at some point. Would this be a 3-chapter stream? No, dog. Not a none in the chapter 1. Not a none in the chapter 3. That's not happening. That's too much. Got 150,000. Yeah, Grey Feather, you're over here with the big pockets in more ways than one. Wish they'd remaster some of the older Armored Core games. There's not enough good mecha games at the moment. I'd be down for that. I never got to play the old Armored Core games, so I'd tear into those things. Amorous 2. Was Amorous free? I don't remember. Dude, I've got so many like fucking Risque games to play. I got In Heat I gotta play. I got fucking Changing Tale I gotta play. People just bought me a fuck ton of games and I gotta get around to them. In the Discord more than likely. I like playing alone. If co-op, I play alone too. I can understand that. There's some games that I play in co-op. Like sometimes I'll run Minecraft or something. And like I could go over and hang out with the buds, but sometimes I just want to have my own base. Sometimes I just want to fuck around on my own. Making my bike-shaped eyes.
Space mirroring time.
You know, in spite of the running jokes of the server and the state of him in this story, Sage is unironically one of the few good things to come from GVH. I find a lot of his renders adorable. I think GVH Sage is, like, fucking forgettable, but I like what the fandom has done with Sage. Make an investor role for them. Fucking, yeah. Donate $10 to Humanoto to get the investor role on Discord. Yippee. Just have no friends to play with. Well, dog, if you ever need people to play with, the Discord's a good way to source that. I mean, fuck. There's enough people in there. I'm sure you can find someone to run shit with. Kind of like Monster Energy U. Fuck, what was it? I think I was watching somebody play Frontier today. That looked like an interesting time. I don't know. Like, the thing is, I could start like a new monster or anything, but I'm also like fucking dog. I've got so much shit I need to do. I might as well just wait for Wilds and then fucking lock in then. Scared to ask? Don't be. Nobody's gonna bite you in the fucking Discord, and if they do, we're gonna smack them on the nose. The place is chill. Honestly, with the amount of people we have, I might want to think about adding a new text channel for people looking to try to get like a group going for a game or something. Love and emotional support, Sage. I like my little gun, Sage. My Sage hide, if you will. We do be chilling in there? Absolutely. All my time and years I get kicked, so... Nah. As long as you aren't, like, being fucking ridiculous and you're following rules, nobody's got any reason to, like, fucking squint at you or anything. I mean, trust me, we already got, like, our freaks and, like, established in the Discord, so... You'll be normal in comparison. Most of us ask before biting the jugular.
I don't.
Follow the rules, it's hard for me. I'm sure you'd be fine. Flamethrower nerf in Helldivers 2 is criminal. That stratagem was my go-to charger killer. Yeah, we would be good if they wouldn't nerf things and they just buff everything else. Did I hear GTA San Andreas hot coffee? Yeah. You don't know what hot coffee is? Nope. Didn't until now. Echoes of Regret is wrapping up, and that will finish my favorite fix for the non-canon endings. Broken Wings ain't hit it for me. Bad Apple and Bonds for E1 and E3 respectively were amazing for me. Yeah, Broken Wings, you know. Everybody has their gripes with it. It's okay for what it is, but it's nothing stellar, I wouldn't say. But I've heard good things about Bad Apple and Bonds. And I think I've heard some people mentioning Echoes of Regret as a recent. CJ is the base of all the GTA Pro tags. I'll say so, it's best for me. Hey man, do what you want to do. I'm not the type of person to like pressure someone into something they don't feel comfortable with.
Hi.
Hi Bon. Waves my big hand at you. How are you? Honestly, sex scenes in movies and games just make me feel awkward. Just feels like I'm intruding on something private and personal. I understand that, but like when it's a sex minigame and it's like, mash the X button to fuck harder, I kind of just chuckle, because I'm like, this is goofy. Wish I could save ending 1 Fang. Well, don't get ending 1. Or, I guess read this. 18 something currency that I don't know because I am a fucking stupid idiot. Like how the first release of GVH had their skeleton broken in some scenes, and you just see Slenderman Sage occasionally. No shot, really? Oh, that sounds hilarious. Did recommend adding a gaming chat related for a channel for all the gaming things.
Yeah, you know what? I think I will.
Walks over to... Ooh, Mimi ping. Oh, they're gonna be opening the server more public. I like how there's fucking 8 people who have reacted with Dawn Pog. Reacted by Lanny. Let's see. Lanny, Magnum, Elvin. Okay. That's funny. I like that. It's our little guys. Slenderman Sage. There better be art of that, like the Sims human dog creature. Oh, goodness. Let's see. Where would I put it? I guess I'd put it in the general server channels. Maybe under the pit.
Yeah, I could probably do that afterwards as long as I remember. Yes, I think that would be lovely. Lovely jubbly even.
Find it funny that the naughty part of the Nasty Boys is gone. Oh, fuck. I just remembered I actually have to... Ah, that's annoying. I gotta update the role assignment again because we kicked Carlbot out because there was like a fucking evil thing that was happening. Shit, there's 96 nasty fellas in the Discord, huh? Creatures. You like your fucking filth, don't you? Tell me Sage would get the Anon face treatment from a glitch. If Batman Arkham Knight video game had a snoot on him, would you play? I guess. Maybe. Almost hit 300 in DC as well. Yeah, what are we at right now? Hold up. Server settings, members. 289. 11 more to go and we hit 300 there, which is kind of fucking wild.
Hey, don't put me in it.
I'm not putting anybody anywhere. Walks off, acts like I was never here. There's me when I ghost around the server. I pop in every now and again. In like text chats. I sit in the fucking VC pretty often. Sometimes they would be twice as tall and their textures are all stretched out. That's hilarious. Put him in the jar. We are not putting people in the jar. Didn't know you were unaware about hot coffee. That's fine. I'm knowledgeable now. I have collected knowledge and put it into a bank in the back of my brain. Broken Wings had some rough pacing, but was decent otherwise. Yeah, it just... I know when we did the reading, we kind of were talking about it at the end where it was like, everything wrapped up like so like conveniently. It was almost like everybody was clapping and then Obama came out and high-fived Fang. The jar is only for the worst of the criminals. Like Lanny, do not put that little guy in the jar. He would thrive. Howdy chat. Hey Jam. Did you read my chat? Yep, I read it. Looks at the OG God of War trilogy. Never played God of War either. Oopsies. Am I a criminal? What crimes have you committed? Squints my fucking eyes. Gun Sage on the next femboy in firearms. That's where he frequents, you see. Wait, Pogware. Lena would make that jar squeaky clean. Clean it out like a benthic catfish. Oh, that is filthy. Hold up. I am DMing that one to him. Throws Lanny in the jar, he becomes the jar. What did he mean by this? Can't unhear that? Yeah, Lanny's gonna fucking see that in a second here and like fucking message back like, oh, what are you doing? I like that the birth of Amber, with the exception of original E1, is a canon event in the Snoot universe. Or the Snootverse fandom. Well, yeah, we have to have Amber spawn at some point. You're welcome, or rather, welcome. Thanks, Baroth. Sitting in a Greek restaurant, waiting patiently for streamer to read. We'll probably be reading here soon. I'm catching up to chat pretty decently now. Like that approach you have, gain knowledge. I like to be an observer. Honestly, I was kind of disappointed seeing Ted and Wani. I was hoping all humans were like Anon and Nico, where their facial features only appeared when they felt strong emotions. It is kind of funny just seeing fucking Uncle Ted there, though. It's just him. He's just chilling. Rector Jesus came down and gave Anon a fist bump. Yeah, especially when he proposed. That's 2 PlayStation franchises: God of War, and Infamous. I don't know if if those are easily available. Delaney Suckerfish. What did I just hear? Don't worry about it, Morwin. You played Ratchet and Clank? Nope, I haven't played that one either. You see, I am not a cultured fellow when it comes to the older games. It's okay, Wani isn't canon. You shut your fucking mouth, Jam. I'll kill you. There's a mod for Risk of Rain 2 that changes Commando into Fang since someone mentioned Snoot Wani mods earlier. Really? Huh. I'll have this. Oh, Snoot Game skins. Skins featuring characters from Snoot Game. Commandos low poly Anon. Railgunners low poly Fang. Huntress low poly Fang. Okay. Huh. Can you believe that? I heard Amber spawn and point like a fucking trigger phrase. I kind of figured someone would fucking just, oh, huh? James Earl Jones passed. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Just thought of something. If everyone farted at the same time for the same amount of time, would it create a brat moist sphere? I don't want to think about that. That's foul, even. Someone could draw Lanny as a catfish suctioning algae off the inner side of a fish tank. Draw Lanny as a catfish suctioning fucking dirt off of Ben's. Making an OC Batman Snoot Game movie. If you're welcome to react, I don't mind. How does that work? Or that. I mean, the PS3 PlayStation Store, I think, that you can only add money via gift cards. I think I only have a PS4. I think I skipped the PS3 because I was a 360 kid. So I had a PS2, and then I grabbed the PS4 basically for like Bloodborne, and that was mostly it. Oh, Jesus Christ. Gray passing out 10 fucking subs on the Twitch side. Damn, a fucking money jump scare. Sucking on top of Ben's head like that one fish gif. Shit. You're like single-handedly supporting the fucking streaming career. Damn you, if you don't know. I know what it is, bro. Let's go indeed. As always, Gray, thank you very much for the support. I get to the point where I'm just kind of like sitting here with my hands in my fucking lap. Like, how do I fucking... I need to have like a fucking air horn or something. Here, I got a kazoo. You want like a little ditty on it? There you go. Low-key underrated streamer. Well, thank you, Clownerd. You tripped me up there. I thought there was 2 N's. Thank you for the kind words. Very much appreciated. Quatter. Did it with Retro, but he has better people than me. Well, great. I appreciate you. We hype maxing. Don't worry about it, Uranus. Fucking Gray's just sitting over here being daddy moneybags again. And I'm sitting here on my hands and knees thinking. Needs a multi-Olivia mod next. Oh, that's a good one. Roll around as Olivia. Dual buzzsaw, Edie. Oh, Jesus. Jesus. Great. 20 more fucking gifted subs. Oh boy. Thank you very much. This is one person. I fear when I open up the goddamn stuff for YouTube and there's like 10 people doing this kind of shit. That's terrifying. I don't know how I'm gonna handle that stream. Ugh. Thank you, Gray. Going back to last stream, it took me 10 minutes to realize Ace speaks in third person. That is what Ace does. Ace does like doing that. It'd be like if Humo said Humo likes doing third person. Humo is a reader, you see. You crazy son of a bitch. Yeah. I gotta assume you make the big bucks, dog. You just be dropping that shit. That's enough for the night. It absolutely is. Much appreciated, but you know, you don't have to throw that much money at me, dog. Any Transformers fans excited for the new movie here? Heard great things. I personally am not huge on Transformers, but we do have the Transformers guy in the Discord, Wearisome. If I remember correctly. I'm gonna feel like a real asshole if I'm getting that wrong. 360. Hey, Uma, what games do you find yourself gravitating towards? Anything with like good PvE. I'm not like super picky. I did drop tier 2 gifts a while back in retros. Fuck. How much are those now? Because I know that they upped the price on tier 1 subs. Name members like a sleeper agent activation phrase for the fic writers. God of War 3 is on PS4, I think, and Infamous Second Son. I see. Making Snoot game characters in WWE 2K24. Ah, I see. One of those. Fair enough. Only reason I haven't sold my PS4 is because it's the only way I can play the Ico trilogy. I keep it because I need to play Bloodborne at some point again. Busted my ass to buy all the console up until like PS3, when so far the last Sly Cooper game came out on Xbox and PC. Man, Sly Cooper, holy shit. That's a fucking name I ain't heard in a hot minute. Just need to get really shitty earbuds and buy the mic from inside put the mic inside the kazoo. I mean, I could just put the kazoo up to the thing and like, hold up. Wait, no, it comes out at the top here, so it'd be like. It was 50 tier 2 gifts, so close to 500 bucks. Dropped it 2 times. God damn. Fucking money. We'll get Bloodborne PC when we get Mother 3. Don't say that. Don't make me sad. Wanting horror mod would be awesome, but I fear when you do. I will buy you gun wish list in Minecraft. Looks for glowies. They're gonna give me guns and expect me to go shoot someplace up. But I'm really just gonna sit there and like look the gun and be like, hee bullet thrower. Sound like you put your mic in a fucking Tesla coil.
I'm shocking you. I'm gonna kill you all now.
Kind of wonder if Caveman would do an official Olivia mod for Risk of Rain 2 like they did with the World of Horror and PT. That would be fucking awesome. I forgot that Caveman has some like official mods. Twitch chat Joe Obama. Hey Joe. You know, I wonder if I can get Caveman on Creator Spotlight. Wouldn't that be wild, guys? Hey Caveman, hit me up. Was like the epic gamer I got to see in that 7 Days to Die. Was outclassed. Dude, I felt like I wasn't doing that like hot in the PvP part of the 7 days. In PvE, I fuck hard. But in the PvP, I felt like I was just kind of like middle of the road. Hot take: more indie studios should do official mods. Not a hot take. That take is like gold. I feel like most people would agree. That would be fucking awesome. I do remember Co-op was thinking on making plushies. Hope they make a Fang one. They probably can't make a Fang one, but goddamn, give me a, like, fucking plush Livy. I'd be happy with that. Transformer 1 seems like it's gonna be a good freaking movie. I'm glad the Transformer bros are gonna be eating good. Looking forward to Transformers. Ahunta muss Hund. Man, Eileen was like my old profile picture. I love Eileen. I want Caveman to make an official Olivia sketchbook. That'd be cool too. Let the art bros get something nice. Like the exact same one she uses in game. That'd be easy money, I feel like, right? Sly Cooper.
It's not shitty enough.
Don't worry, we'll get it shittier. I'll figure out a way. Sly Cooper, the game that spawned my furism. Yeah, was it Carmelita or was it Sly himself? Kazoo? Yeah, Vaughn, look, it's a kazoo. I am Suko G now. I want Sly Cooper to continue. One day. Yeah. I would be down to play Sly Cooper. I think I only got... I beat 1, I remember that. And I think I beat 2, but I can't even remember. Gungo Burr. Gungo Burr when you put Funny Switch on. Wait, Co-op is the one that made GVH. So they can't make the Fang Punch. Oh, right, Co-op. That's right. I don't know why I got Co-op and Caveman confused there. I guess I think Dino women. Yeah, no, Co-op could make a Fang plush, but I don't think they really care to. Ugh. I mean, when they made fucking... When they made plushes, they made the fucking bug. The bug. Olivia Flask. I'd buy an Olivia Flask too. I've said it before. I think it would be cooler if, like, merch wasn't just clothing. I want, like, interesting items. I want trinkets and baubles, alright? Give me something that even if I don't use it every day, it would be cool to have. Surprised you haven't gotten a clown horn yet. I'll hit up Schmoopy and have him link me a good clown horn. I want Sly Cooper to continue. Don't just love it when companies sell their IPs. Oh, I love it. It's my favorite. Growls. Wish Caveman made Snoot Game merch. Too bad Snoot Game pretty much belongs to Co-op since they made JVH. Yep.
It's my IP to sell and do nothing with.
And we need to grab those people and stab them. Mango. Yeah. I do love Reed, the stoner bro. I had 5 to 10 bros like him in my high school. I like Reed. He's a neat little guy. I got the sticker sheet and have one of them on my PC. I still need to get me some fucking Wani merch. I've been dragging my feet on that. Olivia would totally be acrid. Can we get an Olivia or like a fucking mod where it's just Olivia but like for every character in just like a different way? That'd be awesome. Making the Mango plush gives us the opportunity to do things like put Mango in a blender. True. True. I want to say I wish I could save E1 Fang before the tragic death in the event after the failure at Prom Volcano High. Well, yeah, I think most people would rather not have everything that happens in E1 happen in E1. Just right, people are talking about one of my favorite games of the game franchises, Sly Cooper. Yeah, Sly Cooper fucks. An interview with Caveman would be interesting to hear about the development of Snoot and Wani in depth. Yeah, it would be cool, but I don't think I've got that social cred to be pulling Caveman and on here. Not to mention, I don't even know who the fuck I need to reach out to. I'm kind of in the dark on that one. I also don't know what the fuck I'd even ask. They've already, like, answered a ton of questions. I would need to... If I was going to legitimately do it, I would need to, like, brush up on everything. Because, like, that's one of those ones I don't want to fuck up an interview for. So I'd want to be coming to the table with some actually good questions. Wonder what Caveman is doing. What is it? Exit 665 or whatever? I think they're working on that. Honestly, Co-op should just sell the IP to Caveman, since the first thing that comes to mind when I see the characters of GVH is Snoot Game. While they're at it, they should make a Steam release of Snoot Game. Steam release of Snoot Game would be cool and convenient. I don't think Co-op's going to sell the fucking rights, and if they are, they're going to sell it at such an exorbitant price, it'll be ridiculous to buy it. God, don't say it was Miss Tubby. Legit, actual PTSD war. Or Miss Ruby. At first it was Nayla, but after no. Side note, Carmelita is beautiful, but Sly is my furry crush purely because of his voice. I understand that. Sly's got a very nice voice. Some people see on Twitter, some people see on Twitter see Snoot Game is first, then GVH. If GVH were a better game, man. If GVH were a better game. Miss Ruby had me acting up better pet as a kid.
Cause you like the hit game Banjo-Kazooie?
Never played it, by the way. Smiles. As a Christian, I need to know the Raptor Jesus lore. Heck, I need to know more Snootverse history lore in general. They'll drip feed it to you, maybe, if you're lucky. Have to support co-op though.
Yeah.
Sly Cooper and Fox McCloud were the ones to start being furry, I guess. Much like that is badass. Rareware, give us a new Banjo game. Keep my eye out for the canteen when I go to the Army Navy surplus and state. I was looking at it, I'm like, okay, could I like fucking cobble together something similar to her canteen? Get the plushie and shove it into a jar, or cut a hole, or cut a hole on it. Blah. That fucking sucked to read. My brain stopped. Do not cut a hole on it. Do not Lyra plush it. A lockpick that's Fang Snoot. That's kind of funny. They're working on Sea of Thieves forever. Forever. Most of the development of both games are miracles on top of a pile of drama. Yeah, games that are very good despite their development hells. Your brain refused to read that. It's not that it refused to read that, it was that there was the... here's the thing, my brain has to autocorrect some people's sentences because there's something wrong with them. And if I read them as they're supposed to, it doesn't work anymore. My brain just shuts down. GVH is just like furry Dustborn. I remember seeing the GVH trailer. It was funny. GVH and Dustborn were part of the Sweet Baby Inc. What was I don't even remember the whole thing with Sweet Baby Inc. I just remember everybody's like, fucking goddamn it, Sweet Baby Inc. Yeah, see it right there. Fucking Sweet Baby Inc. Ugh, putain. Thought dropped off of that Fox Sly one. The Countess and Penelope are peak Sly Cooper ladies. Blech. God, I need to go back and play Sly Cooper. Holy shit. First words I hear, Lyra plush. Look, somebody was talking about cutting a hole in the plush and you know what that was used for. Intrusive thoughts. AAA game studios really need to learn their place. $70 for Silent Hill 2? Really? That's just like a whole can of worms, right? Like fucking you'll have the argument of, well, games haven't been increasing in price despite inflation and everything, so it makes sense that they're starting to increase price. But then you have the other side of the coin where it's like, well, games don't have to go through any logistics anymore, or hardly as much logistics as they had to prior in order to distribute and sell their game, because you don't have to rely on physical copies, you can just use digital. I don't look at numbers, so I don't care. If a game's really good, I'll buy it. And if it's not, and I don't feel like buying it, I'm not going to buy it. Simple as. A game's worth as much as I think it's worth. And if a game feels like it's worth too much, I'm not buying it. Simple as. Sweet Baby Inc. was to be safe and no offensive stuff. Right. I know they like fucking did a bunch of shit, like had their hands in a lot of things. I was zoned out, but Lyra Plush locked me in. Some of you people are fucking sleeper agents, and it shows. Did you hear about the Sony CFO saying PlayStation almost no IPs? Really? At least I can work pretty well on a PS3 emulator.
Sly Cooper stream soon, smile.
I don't care about AAA games. You can consistently find better games on the indie market for less than $20. That's part of the reason, right? A game's only going to be worth as much as it is relating to its competition. If there's better games out there, you're not going to buy the game that they're trying to sell you. Simple. Supposed to be boring and that's it. GameStop opening retro game stores. Prepare for expensive older gen games. They can kiss my ass. Do you think the fandom would continue contribute to buying the IP for Goodbye Volcano High if co-op sold it? Honestly, yeah, I think they would. If it just gets into co-op's hands and co-op says they would do stuff with it, or not co-op, Caveman said they would do stuff with it. I could see that being a thing. Graded NES game, probably. When is Soma stream? Will it be an October thing? Yeah, probably. That'd be a good time to do it, since I should have, like, I haven't thought about it too much, but I do need to start, like, thinking about, like, a backlog of spoopy games to play during Halloween. Or not Halloween, all of October. Of course, for me, that's not going to be too scary because, you know, I'm a big, strong man, and I don't get scared anymore. Smiles. Maybe I can convince Landy to be on deck for a couple of those. That could be fun. Miss when companies actually put love and effort into their stuff. Miss good games. Live for retro games. Game stores, the only ones I go to.
Return to Amnesia VR.
That'd be a scary stream. That one would put the fear of God in me. Yeah, I mean, like, the thing is, at least at the larger level, games stopped becoming an art form and became a profitability thing. They became a product, and that's a lot of stuff has kind of, I felt like, lost its spark because of that. Rather Humo get existential horror than motion sickness. I didn't get motion sickness, it's just the game fucking, like, beat my ass and was flashbanging me. Like, I was in physical, like, a battle, and I was being punched. Forgot Halloween's coming up. Gotta get my Martin Brown costume ready. If I really need to, I can just dress up in Fang again. Easy. Kind of subtle, but they changed James' design for the remake a bit, and it bothers me. Not that I had hopes for that Silent Hill 2 remake anyway. I want to see that drop and see how much people hate it, or if it's okay and people are like, "Eh, sure." Has no IPs, yeah, because they're sleeping on them all. It'll be an open video market. Play and Talk is selling at market, even ungraded. It's wild. He said that the weak Astrobot proved them wrong with all the IP references. Isn't GVH partially owned by Canadian government? I guess so, because, I mean, there was tax money that went into it, right? Could Caveman make action figures for Snoot game / Wani? Maybe Wani, but not Snoot. Canada partially funded GVH. Yeah. Tax. Boss, you have done irreversible damage to my vocabulary. Smiles.
Thanks. That's great to hear, Bond. Smiles. I'm very happy.
I like that I have a lasting effect on some of you. You don't get to leave this stream without having your brain rotted a little bit. Need to figure out a Halloween costume and if I'm doing anything. Orwin, put on the gator skin now. Orwin, here. If I had a nickel for a government backing a game, I would have 2 nickels, which is weird.
Gotta love it when the government's like, here's money to make the video game.
I hear Rosa theme. Rosa Bros Unite. The Fang stream happened and I missed it. No. Fang stream will be happening probably within the week, though. I would say probably sometime this weekend. Hell, maybe even like Saturday. Shrugs. Don't take that as 100% though. Still can't believe the Canadian government has less of a grasp of the human condition than 4chan. Fear? Ooh, Fear's a good one. I played that in a while. You know what I need to play? Trepang. Apparently that's like fucking modern Fear. Bond fully goon dedicated to Mr. Streamer. Oh, don't say that. I know you mean goon is in like henchman, but like goon has been corrupted. Have you played Astrobot yet?
No.
Is this second yap or have I made it back before the start? You made it before the start. Yeah, boss, anytime, boss. Got like 30 minutes of yap left. I don't know if we got 30 minutes. I live in a state that keeps getting mistaken as part of Canada. Here's a short list of PlayStation's IP. Little Big Planet, Parappa the Rapper, Ratchet and Clank, Astro Bot, Sly Cooper, and God of War. And that's a good list of IPs if they would do something with them. Ace Combat. I need to do the Ace Combat stream. Fuck! I have the flight controls up here. I need to do Ace Combat and Project Wingman. Both of them. Fuck! I could see acrylic standees for Wani being a cheap alternative figures of plush. Yeah, those would be easy. Funny that tax-funded games are glitchier and lazier than micro-budget indie games. Well, you know how it is, dog. Joke's on you, my brain was already rotted. Wait, pokes holes in your brain? The hell's a Fang stream? I'm gonna be doing a Fang cosplay and making human nuggies, skinny nuggies if you will, in the kitchen. Live Fang creator spotlight. How would that work? Fatima creator spotlight. Humo thugs be thuggin'. Bye, Joe. Bye bye. I need a purple hoodie for the Olivia cosplay. Hey, you can find a purple hoodie. Let's be real. I don't think that that's a rare breed of hoodie or something. PlayStation 2 busy pissing off hackers. Trepang 2, let's fucking go. Trepang 2 looks like it's fun. If I had to give chat a nickname, what would it be? Shit, I don't know. I haven't thought about it. Fuck. My brain immediately jumps to Dino Dudes, but like that feels cringe. You guys are the Humolings. Homunculuses. Homunculuses. There we go. Homunculuses. Yeah, you guys are the Homunculi. I remember Dustborn was made by a Norwegian and funded by EU government. It's a good nickname. Jack and Daxter, Heavenly Sword, that one quiz game I don't remember the name of. Jack and Daxter was pretty fun. I know I played the first one of that.
Needs to be that specifically.
Only acceptable answer is Giga Chad. Caveman made a third Snootverse game. What internet pun do you think they would do with an MC? Dog, I am not the person to ask. My brain sucks. I can't come up with shit like that. I'm boring. What's the prize pool for the Fortnite tournament this weekend? $2. Unless you're talking about, I think you were mentioning like, isn't there like a huge like Guitar Hero tournament going on, like with the biggest prize pool for like a that type of thing? I feel like I remember you mentioning that, Kev. There's no specific Urple hoodie. The chat's nickname is Snoot Goon Squad. Guitar Hero tournament is 10k and that's a halftime sideshow. Goodness. Dustborn is like, we have blanket home version of Hi-Fi Rush. Just watched a 70-year-old couple wall by the restaurant. I'm not sharing a joint. Who says love is dead?
They love each other so much.
Stan D. Ard for the next Dino VN from Cavemanin. That's not bad. Homunculi? Isn't that part of the mitochondria? It's what provides the power to the mitochondria, you see. So largest in plastic Guitar Hero. That's a lot of fucking money, dog. Mr. H, what male dino do you love? Huh? Fuck. I don't know, I don't fuck super heavy with any of the male dinos. I guess Reed, maybe Sage. We're Humo's powerhouse fuel. Exactly, Morwin. Exactly. Explains my first one on it. Blaine K. Slate. See, you guys got these way better. Do a flip! Ah, fuck! Looked it up. The Weeknd is World Finals. $2 million pool. Video games is crazy, dog. Install was the name I thought of. Install? Is that supposed to be what it is? Read Nazar, maybe Gunsage. Install, yes. Okay. All right, I just realized we're an hour and 8 minutes in. I'm gonna go grab some water and then we'll get reading. How's that sound, fellas? I'm not gonna wait. Good luck. Asai gets 2 million Lamau. Exactly. It's time for us to get back to None in the Chamber, Trial Edition.
Thank you for the idea, Kev.
Oh, that was creepy. I'm gonna head out, have a good reading. Alright, Sierra, take care. Let me pop over to Discord real quick. I got a couple notifications. Want to see what's going on.
I like clearing my notifications. It makes me happier, you see.
Okay. All's good on the Western Front. I'll hop to. Alright, Moen. Take care. My name's Gall Sudman. Did you know you have rights? I do have to get my Gall Sudman out, huh? Gotta put that shit on display. Alright. Full screen. Bink, bink.
Get the fuck out of here, Chiro.
Get the bars up. Can't bring Fang out without the bars, you see. She's touching the bar right there, trying to feel if she can get out of it. Now she's making her one call. Wow, that was a quick one. I haven't read this fic yet. One of these days, more when I'll get done with the whole fic. It's fucking... Holy shit, it's a grinder, I'll tell you what, though. Locked up. Jail. Well, yeah.
Bond, Fang killed people. They have to stay in jail.
Alright. We won't have too much fanfare here. So, if you remember correctly, we're doing the trial now. And at the end of last chapter, Mr. Mouse himself was called forward.
So it's time for us to be on the stand, fellas.
Lock in, bro. We read. True. Ugh. Okay. Whoa. Here we go. Apologies if I can't remember what names I gave everybody. Or not names, voices. We'll try our best. Here we go. Chapter 23. Thunder. Thunder. Sound caused by a lightning discharge. Lightning heats the air in its path and causes a large overpressure of the air within its channel. The channel expands supersonically into the surrounding air as a shock wave and creates an acoustic signal that is heard as thunder. Gal stops short ways before me. A moment passes, during which we take one another in. It's a short moment, not even half a minute, and yet, with all the feelings, both good and bad, vying for control over me, it seems to stretch out into eternity. Mr. Mouse. Gal leans forward towards me with a slightly confidential look on him. Were you at the prom? I tense up. Lucy looks up at me, tilting her head slightly. The melancholic, sad look produced by Milhouse's testimony still lingers on her face, and in combination with her disheveled hair and slumped posture, gives her such a look of utter hopelessness that it takes a fuck ton of self-control for me to not spring out of my seat and run to her. I want to hug her, to caress her, to press her head against my chest and tell her that everything will be okay. But I don't do that, and I know that these words wouldn't be anything but lies. Please answer the question, Mr. Mouse. I blink. Right. Focus. Yes. During the inquest led by my firm, the defendant mentioned you being present at the place of her and her band's preparations for the concert. He leans forward slightly, looking into my eyes with a mixture of intent and great interest. Can you tell me how that went? I scratch my head. Honesty is not only the best policy right now, it's a fucking requirement. I was drunk and I remember very little from the prom proper, I tell him. But I will do my best to tell you as much as I can remember. Gal nods with a serious look. That's all I'm asking of you, Mr. Mouse. He nods with his hand, then puts it together with his other one. Now, answer my question. I tell him what little I remember from the music room. About them looking for the string while I stood like a retard. About Trish's look of utter smugness. About Lucy asking me to leave, and Trish's look only intensifying. That's all, I tell him. Next time I saw Fang was out on stage. Tell us about the concert. I clench my fists. It's really fucking hard not to fly into a fit of blind rage at the memory. I can stop myself from leering slightly as I describe... Or I can't stop myself from leering slightly as I describe the breakdown Lucy had on stage. I grip the bar so hard that my knuckles pop while describing my sweet girl stumbling off the stage, chased by the laughter of the crowd and the projectiles. Sudman and the jury listen to me carefully. So does the whole of the audience, surprisingly. Some of the people there I just now recognize as some of those who booed the band off stage. I force myself to glue my eyes to Sudsman's calm face so as not to glare at those shitheads. If I indulged, people would think I'm insane. Maybe they'd be right. I guess I am at least partially insane by this point. Given the shit that's happened to me so far, it's a miracle if I didn't end up in a straitjacket yet. What happened afterwards? Sudman asked me. I cringe. Afterwards... God. Oh my fucking God, I really don't want to tell him that. I look aside to evade his gaze, only to meet the eyes of the jury. I turn my head to the other side, where I'm met with Whit's hard look. Averting my eyes from that, my look gazes to the audience, where I find no sympathy either. Finally, I look up at the ceiling. If someone was sitting there, staring at me, I'd shit and piss myself. Luckily, there's only the whitewash. What do I tell them? How do I tell them? They'll hate me for what they hear, almost as much as they hate Lucy, if not more. Judge Bernard's voice, rumbling overhead, crashes my train of thought and makes me recoil slightly. Mr. Mouse, answer the inquiries, or you'll be held in contempt of court and jailed for interfering with the course of justice. I blink. Then I swallow. Then I tell them. I tell them everything. From the auditorium conversation I had with Lucy through the argument we had in my place. When I arrive at Naomi's plan, Sudman stops me. What plan, Mr. Mouse? He asked me, quickly and sharply. Naomi Chun had hatched a plan to bring me and the defendant together, I tell him. She was helping me choose the courses for the semester and helped arrange my school schedule. Sudman nods, gives the jury a short look, then looks back at me. Continue. She set my schedule up so as to have me and Lucy share the same classes as much as we can. She was extremely hungry for information regarding me and Lucy's relationship, constantly pushed us together. Wasn't until prom night when she revealed her intentions in full to me, but there were hints about them along the way. I hadn't connected the dots until around mid-February. Why didn't you tell the defendant about those plans earlier? I did not have any ulterior motives, if that's what you're implying. I'm not implying anything, Mr. Mouse. Sudman narrows his eyes. But it seems strange that you choose that moment to tell the defendant about Miss Chun's plans at that moment, where her mental health is shaky. I narrow my eyes at him, grip my anger with an iron hand, and somehow manage to keep myself calm. Did you like Miss Chun, Mr. Mouse? Objection! Gal turns to Wit. On what grounds? Judge asks. The question is irrelevant. Quite the contrary, Mr. Wit, Gal retorts. At that moment, the defendant was going through an aftermath of a public humiliation and had her relationship revealed as nothing but someone's plot. That would push her over her breaking point. Objection is dismissed. Continue, Mr. Sudman. I can't help but speak up. Are you suggesting I told her all that for, what, her to kill Naomi? Sudman's head snaps towards me at such a speed that I can't help but lean back in surprise. Fuck. Did you? Of course not! I shout. I was drunk! I was not thinking like a normal fucking person. I didn't want to tell her this shit, it slipped out. Do you think none of the tragic events of May 25th would take place if the defendant hadn't learned about this piece of information from you? I'm not a psychologist, I'm sorry to say. So I can't tell what Lucy would have done if I wasn't a drunken idiot at the time. Gal pauses. He measures me up with his eyes, smirks very briefly, nods and clasps his hands behind his back. How long have you known the defendant? Since January this year. When did you begin your relationship? We had a sort of a date in February. Ever since when we started getting so close that we could be considered a couple by March. Lucy looks up at me, her eyes slightly lighting up. I force myself to keep looking at Sudman as to avoid her face, just like I avoided the others. Mr. Mouse, you've heard words of Mr. Steffens regarding the attitude towards the defendant at her school. I know from the defendant that you were part of the audience at the concert in Volcano High's auditorium in January this year. Have you been a part of the group who humiliated the defendant? Yes, I say immediately. Sudman turns from me, looks at the jury. Did the defendant have any lasting grievances stemming from the event we are currently discussing? No. She was just kind of pissed off at them, but that's all. Never heard her talking about wanting to kill anyone. Gal pauses. He nods and then clears his throat. Let's return to May 22nd. He leans forward. How did the defendant react to the information pertaining to the plan of Miss Chun? I tell them. All this time. I can feel the looks of my friends as well as Millhouse's and Rosemary's on me. Scornful, reproachful looks. I catch a glimpse of Trish clenching her fists, leering at me. That doesn't affect me half as much as Millhouse's look of shock and him grabbing his mouth, his eyes wide open. I stumble on my words a moment when I see the disbelief in his eyes. He's shaking his head slightly. His girl just looks at me with disgust, while Rosemary glares at me with indignation. Sudman turns to the audience. He looks at them for a second, then slowly turns his head from side to side, encompassing everyone with one wide, sweeping look. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is it," he says. "This is the point where Lucy Aaron's mental state began its rapid deterioration. From this point onward, her judgment was clouded by her emotions, and she could not be held accountable for any actions. The beginning of the end, if I may be allowed the expression." I swallow. This is my fault. This rapid deterioration. My own stupidity and inability to just open my damn mouth and reveal to Lucy sooner what I discovered is what caused all of this. Trish did contribute in a huge way, but I gave Lucy the final push. "Mr. Mouse," Sudman turns back to me, "how would you describe your relationship with the defendant?" "I would describe it as good. Rocky sometimes, but that's just life," I answer, avoiding the looks of the small, indignant dinos like the plague. Gal pauses. He looks at me attentively. "Rocky," he narrows his eyes. "Care to explain what you mean?" God damn it, Mouth. Why now? Why? Every relationship has its ups and downs. I answer after a brief moment of composing myself, which I mask with a thoughtful look. "That's what I meant." "Yes," Sudman nods, putting his hands together. He then nods them at me, along with his head. "But what do the downs in your relationship look like?" I swallow. He looks at me expectantly. He's waiting for an answer, and he will press me until he gets it, or until the judge tells him to fuck off. I shift my gaze from him to Rosa and Reed. Reed is silently saying something. Probably something about being honest. Rosa's just looking at me with great worry in her eyes. No help will come from their side. I've got to do this shit all alone. I sigh, and with a slight tremble, I turn my eyes back to Sudman. We argued a little, like people sometimes do in relationships. Lucy looks up. She's frowning slightly. I think she's surprised. We did argue a little bit. Why that look? I'm not shifting blame onto myself, sweet girl. I'm just explaining how it all looked like. Describe one such argument. Lucy, laying on the bed, crying as I drunkenly berate her, pops into my head like an unwanted guest barging into a room. The voices of mine and hers start mingling with the murmurs of those around me. You don't even like me. You just wanted to change me into something I'm not, just to get Naomi off your back. Okay. Okay. Why? Because it's important to show how you failed her. Expect me away from my friends. You ruined my band. Excuse me? Don't play stupid, Mr. Mouse. You know as well as I do that you failed as a boyfriend. I did no such thing. Turned slightly paler. Sudman narrows his eyes. He knows he touched a tender chord. Excuse me? Sudman sighs, steps away from me with his hands behind his back, shaking his head with a look of concern on his face. You tell us that your relationship with the defendant was good, that you were a good couple. He stops and turns to me. And yet, at her lowest point, you didn't seek her out. You didn't even attempt to calm her nerves after having disturbed them so severely. I swallow. He's right. What's his goddamn point, though? He narrows his eyes at me. Instead of trying to minimize damage you caused, you contented yourself with sending the defendant a couple of text messages and playing video games. Is that how a good boyfriend acts? I was never in a relationship. I'm severely inexperienced in such things. Sudman snorts. Your lack of experience does not excuse your lack of empathy. You described how the defendant reacted to your words, and it was quite a severe reaction. What I told you about just now. I swear, none of our arguments were as bad as this. I would never, ever talk to her like that. We just argued. Had a disagreement here and there, nothing world-shattering. Did things get physical? I almost start from my seat. Almost. I stay myself by gripping the bar hard enough for my palm to begin hurting. No. They most certainly did not. I say with great emphasis. Looking over his shoulder, I see Lucy, staring at him with great indignation. She's on the verge of crying out, judging from the look on her face and in her eyes. How often did you fight? I open my mouth to throw a snarky remark. How often? Yes, how often? Conscience speaks up. No, calm the fuck down. What do you mean calm down, Conscience? Motherfucker just suggested I abused Lucy. He's using your emotions against you. That's how wit got played. He did lose his cool and make himself look like an ass. That's true. Remember, the voice stipulates, you were testifying under oath. Whatever you say, the court will take it at face value. Be cool. Compose yourself. Alright. Thanks, Conscience. I look Sudman straight in the face. You wanna play me, fucker? String me up like a puppet? Too bad I have plenty of experience with chuckle fucks like you, bitch. At most, I shrug. We fought like 3-4 times a month, maybe less. Really? Sudman tilts his head. Yes, really. I keep looking at him. He nods. Your Honor, I have no more questions for the witness. Murmurs. Witnesses talk amongst themselves, so does the jury. The prosecutor starts up from his seat as soon as the judge allows him. Mr. Mouse, you've told us about the events that took place during the prom night. He looks me in the eyes. Now I want you to tell us what happened afterwards. I blink. Oh, shit. He nods, leaning in closer, scrutinizing me. I don't understand the question. I slowly say. Do you mean that Monday, or... He cuts me off. No, Mr. Mouse, I do not mean May 25th. To that we shall get in a moment. I mean the night beforehand. My heart starts beating. Fast. Hard. Very fast and very hard. The fastest and hardest it beat in my life. I stare at Wit, unmoving, unblinking, unable to think, move, draw breath, anything. Wit returns the look with cold composure he exuded for the whole trial. Now, being the focus of it, I find the aura of self-satisfaction gone, replaced by cold calculation. The night beforehand. What happened on that night, Mr. Mouse? I swallow. Swerve. I was sleeping. He sighs, closing his eyes for a moment. When he opens them, vindictiveness joins the coldness. Don't get snarky with me, Mr. Mouse. I will accuse you of interfering with court proceedings, and you will end up either fined or jailed. He narrows his eyes. I will be direct. He leans to Lucy and points at her with an open hand. As we all can see, ladies and gentlemen, the defendant is pregnant. Turns back to me, pinning me in place with his cold silver eyes. And I would like to ask, Mr. Mouse, how did the consummation of your relationship happen? Lucy stirs. So does Sudman. He deliberately avoided this subject, though I did see an unspoken question on his face when he questioned me. I don't understand the question. Wit shifts, standing between me and Lucy, blocking her out entirely. Was the intercourse consensual or not, Mr. Mouse? I goggle at him. The whole courtroom is gone, as if hidden behind a veil of mist. I hear no one but him. I see no one but him. Him in those piercing silver eyes, like twin spikes. He stands there, no longer the smug asshole I saw him as earlier, but as a ruthless pursuer. He will do anything to persecute Lucy. What chance do I stand before him? Well... Wit cuts me off again. I understand that Lucy Aaron is someone dear to you, and that you may not want to incriminate her, but remember, he points at me, you are testifying under oath. If you lie, you will face dire consequences. My breath is catching. Answer my inquiry, Mr. Mouse, Wit demands. Yes or no? It's a simple question. I swallow. I can't answer. I'm struck dumb, just as I feared. Can I get out of this one? I don't remember. You don't remember? Yes. My voice grows stronger, more firm. I don't remember. Wit stares at me for a long moment. He's looking for any cracks, any symptoms of doubt, I'm sure. Well, he's not getting any. I'm as stone-faced as that long neck in the judge's seat. It's been 4 months, Mr. Wit, I say slowly. A lot has happened to me over those past months. Hell, I almost died at one point. I pause, considering. I remember that we had sex that night, but the details elude me. The moment passes. Wit nods, then looks up at the judge. I see. Your Honor, given Mr. Mouse's experience since May 25th, I would like to provide evidence in place of his testimony. Judge Bernard rumbles from above. What evidence? The defense mentioned voicemails sent to one of the defendant's friends. I would like to present one such voicemail and... He lifts his finger. And a recording of a call the defendant made from prison, about 2 weeks after the shooting took place. I goggle at him. What? I almost whisper. Mr. Mouse, every call made by prison inmates is recorded. Wit turns to me. Otherwise, we would have criminals freely communicating with their associates outside of prison. He gives Lucy a very stern, hard look, as if saying, I'm talking about you, then looks back at me. Our society needs such measures to maintain its rules, the rules which your girlfriend has broken. I grip the bench. Where were the rules of society when she was being mocked and hounded? Where were the rules of society when she was at her lowest point? Where were the rules of society when she begged for help? Wit narrows his eyes. Where were you at all those points? You're a member of society yourself, and you did nothing to prevent the breaking of rules I mentioned, despite close relations with the rule breaker. He nods at Lucy. She stares at him, surprised, shocked that he, in a twisted way, is taking her side. You had a duty as her partner to prevent her disturbing the social order, and you did nothing. Wit leans towards me slightly. A duty? If you were more mature than you currently are, Mr. Mouse, you would understand what I'm saying. Judge clears his throat. Wit looks up at him. Mr. Wit, please stay on course. He looks at me, then back at him. As engaging as this flowery oration is, we are not persecuting Mr. Mouse. Cease and bring forth the evidence. Wit nods. Apologizes, then heads off to his table to grab a disc, which he inserts into the player. The fucking voicemail that caused Reed to freeze on the beach and Samantha to faint in the living room with Cazales starts to play. I don't look at anyone as it plays, choosing to stare at the floor instead. I started it. Hanon did not consent, and I was aware of what I was doing. Witt pauses the recording. Out of the corner of my eye, I can see him, sweeping the whole courtroom with one wide gaze. He fixes Gall with his eyes for a moment, then turns toward the jury. The defense will probably try to refute the claims made by the defendant in the recording I have just brought forth. He glares at Sudman. The defense will say the defendant was still experiencing her psychotic episode. Ladies and gentlemen, she did not know what she was saying. He pauses. Let me then present to you the second piece of evidence, which will cast serious doubts toward the defendant's character. He clicks a button on the remote. This is an outgoing phone call, recorded at Volcadero Penitentiary, around 2 weeks after the events of May 25th. I don't move. I can hear Lucy breathing quickly, almost hyperventilating. She's trying to be as quiet as she can, but in the silence that had fallen in the courtroom over the course of that goddamn voicemail, she's very loud. The recording starts, and I close my eyes. Before Anna knew what was happening, I was already on top of him, riding his dick. Lucy shrieks in the recording. Witt clicks the remote. The disc ejects with a quiet whir of the mechanism. He walks over, takes it out, and puts it back onto the table. He then turns, approaches me, and stands next to me. The call and the subsequent statement were made nearly 2 weeks after the events of May 25th. He pauses. Will the defense argue that the defendant was still in the grip of psychosis at the time? Sudman stands up. Of course not. That would be ridiculous. Then you admit that the defendant raped Mr. Mouse. Loud murmurs stir. Someone curses. The judge smacks his pulpit, his mallet, and glares at Witt. Mr. Witt, we are in a court of justice. I'm sorry, Your Honor. Witt bows his head. I got carried away. The defendant stated that Mr. Mouse didn't know what was happening. That can be interpreted many ways, Mr. Witt. Okay, that was supposed to be Sudman. Such as? Surprise! As you were kind to mention when presenting the voicemail, the defendant was not aware of what she was doing at the time of the recording. The emotion stemming from her extremely agitated state made her come up with a scenario where she forced herself upon Mr. Mouse. Sudman stipulates the sentence with a gesture of his hand. Witt crosses his arms, tilting his head slightly to the side. There was no mention of lack of consent in the second recording, which was made after sufficient time has passed for the defendant's emotions to settle down and her being able to think clearly about what happened. Witt nods slowly. We can deliberate over this matter until we're blue in the face, Mr. Sudman. He turns to me. Mr. Mouse, did the evidence help you remember the events more clearly? I take a slow, deep breath through my nose, then exhale just as slowly through my mouth. I lift my head and focus on Witt. He's looking at me expectantly. No, it did not. As I said previously, my memory of that night is hazy at best. I remember having sex and enjoying it. Would I enjoy it if I wasn't willing? Witt narrows his eyes. Sudman masks a grin with a cough and a bow of his head. Lucy's eyes lit up and Rose's face darkens. He just looks at me, both carefully and with a great degree of curiosity. Is that your answer, Mr. Mouse? I don't remember, but I liked it. Sex is nice, Mr. Witt, especially with someone you love. You should try it. Witt turns purple from indignation. The judge clears his throat especially loudly. He then uncoils his neck and levels his eyes with mine. Mr. Mouse, you will refrain from making such remarks, he says, his tone and expression hard. Mr. Witt is not one of your schoolmates, to whom you can say whatever you like. He narrows his eyes. Keep such remarks to yourself, or I'll allow Mr. Witt to pursue the accusation he warned you of previously. I swallow. Fuck. God damn it, now I see why Glenn cowered so much and turned so meek. Little fart's glare penetrates like a fucking X-ray. Yes, Your Honor. I'm glad we understand ourselves. He nods slowly. Now answer the question asked and no more. I nod. He gives me another hard look, then returns to the previous position. Very well. Whit clears his throat and composes himself with a tug of his suit. The annoyed look on his face seems to say, so that's how you want to do this, huh? Let's dance then, little shit. Mr. Mouse, where were you on May 25th? I was sleeping at home. Then I went to school. The defense mentioned the text messages. Do you remember the one you received? I vehemently shake my head. No, I don't remember. Whit snorts. Mr. Mouse, your memory seems to work in such a way that you only remember the things convenient for the defense. He tilts his head. Curious. Objection! Gal rises. Suggesting! Upheld. Mr. Whit, don't make such remarks. Shorthand, strike Mr. Whit's last remark from the records. Whit bows his head in a show of humbleness. I apologize, Your Honor. Let's move on then, Mr. Mouse. He looks me in the eyes, frowning slightly. He's clearly growing annoyed with my lack of cooperation and him not being able to do shit about it. When did you arrive at Volcano High? At around 11 in the morning. How did you enter the school? Through the side entrance. What do you remember from what you saw? I tell him. I tell him about the bullet holes, of groans of the injured in the bodies. I hesitate when I mention Nazar. Doesn't it? Lucy stares at me with the whole time I describe my run in with him. Whit stops me just as I'm about to move on. Mr. Mouse, was Nazar Aaron alive when you last saw him? Yes, I reply immediately. What state was he in? He was bleeding really bad. His whole shirt was soaked. And he was alive last time you saw him? Yes. Mr. Mouse. Lucy starts from her seat in such a violent way that she knocks the chair over. The clatter makes not only me jump, but it also makes Whit twitch, while Sudman starts and leans away from Lucy, wide-eyed in surprise.
What the hell do you mean was? She demands. Was?
Defendant, sit down, Judge shouts.
I will not fucking sit down until he explains what the hell he means. Lucy points at Whit with a trembling finger. Nazar was alive? He's still alive.
Nazar Aaron is deceased, Whit replies, cold and composedly. Don't turn his passing into some kind of crass joke, Miss Aaron. He was your brother. Show him some respect.
You're lying, Lucy shouts. You're fucking lying!
Defendant, sit down! Lucy glares at the judge, then sits down. I look up at the old long neck. He's glaring at Lucy with such a look of reproach on his face that I almost start to dislike him. Didn't you hear what Sudman said? Didn't you hear the evidence? Why is he so hard on her?
He's lying, she says out loud. He's lying. Just call for Nazar. Call the hospital, the school they moved him to. Call her parents, they'll...
The only place we'll be able to call is the morgue, Miss Aaron. Whit turns to Lucy, jerking his head violently. She blinks. She swallows, her shoulders drooping. The agitation animating her just a moment ago was gone.
The morgue?
Your brother has been shot in the chest, Whit says. Twice. The first bullet shattered his ribs. The second bruised his heart. I stare at Whit, completely fucking dumbfounded. The memory of seeing that fucking picture of Nazar laying naked on an autopsy table jumps out of the depths of my subconscious and stands before my eyes. I grip the bar harder, harder, until my knuckles turn white. The edges of the bar dig into my palm. The pain does little to break my stupor. Lucy, upon hearing those words, slowly lowers her head, grabs her temples, and starts breathing, slowly and deeply,
She's leaning against the table, nearly doubled over. Her breathing is catching. She's shivering so much that the table rattles slightly.
Mr. Witt, that is enough. Judge Bernard cuts him off. Quit abetting the defendant.
Witt opens his mouth, but he never gets to say what he wanted to say. He's interrupted by Lucy, who, without a warning, makes a really weird noise. It's a mixture of a groan, a croak, a growl, and a muffled shout, melding together into a sound that defies my description. What I know immediately is that it's a sound of utter and complete anguish. She lifts her head, casts a wide look around her, and lets go of her temples. Her hair sways in a disheveled mess as her head swings from side to side. Her eyes shoot wide open within an instant. She's looking around for someone. I grab my mouth, tears starting to my eyes. She's looking for Nazar. She thinks he's in the courtroom. Nazar? She softly says. He must be here, he must be. She clenches her fists and slams them onto the table. Tears glimmer in her eyes, and thick beads. Nazar, you little shit, stop hiding! Defendant, Lucy shrieks. Nazar! When no one comes, she screams again. It's a wordless scream that's so high-pitched my ears hurt. I hiss and cringe, and seeing from how the rest of the audience reacts, they're just as affected. Rosa stares at Lucy, wide-eyed, a look of complete and utter shock on her face. Reed is as stiff as a block of wood, his eyes starting out of his skull. Lucy shrieks again. No! 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 She screams, gripping her hair and violently shaking her head, so violently that her whole body turns with it. Nazar! Nazar! She starts crying. Sobs mixed with the shrieks into a deafening cacophony of anguish, desperation, and defiance, the latter of which growing weaker and weaker as the sobs and protestations grew stronger and stronger. No! No! Nazar! No! She lifts her head. Sudman starts from his seat and quickly steps away. But the blow wasn't aimed at him. It was aimed at Lucy herself. She carves a long row of cuts into her forearm, her prison gown tearing with a sound that makes my skin crawl. She's screaming, crying, shrieking, repeating her brother's name, all the while casting wild-eyed, crazy looks around the courtroom. I start from my seat.
Mr. Mouse, remain seated or you will be held in contempt of court. Judge Bernard shouts, Security! Security!
I glare at him. You fuck, how can you be so fucking cruel? Lucy cares not what's going on around her. She plows her other forearm, or at least she attempts to. Her claws are so short and dull that she's only able to scratch herself. She notices it. Letting out another wild, high-pitched soprano scream, she grips her wing. With a hand curled up, she grabs a handful of feathers, and with a high-pitched squeal of pain interrupting one of her sobs, she yanks out a handful of her plumage. Before the security can get to her, she rips out half a dozen such handfuls. She would have ripped out more, if not for the trio of broad-shouldered dinos restraining her. She shrieks and snaps her beak at them. One of them grabs her head and the beak, while the other two keep her tight.
Escort the defendant out, the judge shouts. I order an hour's recess in court proceedings. Security, open the doors.
I hadn't sat down. I stare at the piles upon piles of bloodied feathers and tattered shreds of the prison uniform, littering the defense's table and the floor around it. For some reason, my mouth hurts. It's my hand. It's gripping my damn mouth so hard that it's a miracle I hadn't cracked my jaw in two yet. Tears trickle down my face. Two thick streams, fucking Niagara Falls twins of emotion. The buzzing's been going on inside my head for a while now, but I kept it somewhat in check by focusing on Lucy. Now, with her gone, Only echoes of her screams in place of her presence. Everything hits me with the force of a nuclear explosion. My face turns hot, and it turns cold. Hot, cold, hot, cold. I slowly lower myself onto the seat, unable to think, say, do anything but stare at the bloodied feathers and strips of orange fabric. Someone's touching my shoulder. I don't care who. The memory of Lucy's scream, the sounds of her anguish, the echo in my head, with the laughter of Naomi, both sounds gliding like a pair of quasars, producing a gamma ray burst that turns me into a statue. I can't move. If I move, say, or do anything, I'm gonna lose my mind. I bob forwards and backwards, I think. I don't know what I'm doing. Brain has shut itself down. Even if I'm looking and hearing, I can neither see nor listen to anything next to me. I can't move. I must stay here. The judge can jail me if he fucking wants. I have to stay here. I see no one. There's only a haze. I hear no one. There's only buzzing. I'm all alone in my bubble of shock and misery. My vision's blurry. Someone comes into it. An orange shape. It's Rosa. She's hugging me, I think. She's crying, I think. Behind her, a pink shape. Reed, I think. No one else. Slowly, gradually, I come out of it. I find that I'm still seated at the witness booth. Whit and Sudman are discussing something. I don't fucking care what. A couple of janitors are cleaning up the remains of Lucy's outburst. I can feel the judge's eyes on me. I don't give a shit. Rosa's looking up at me, kneeling next to me, holding my hand, squeezing and caressing it slowly. Looking slowly around, I notice Stella standing next to Reed. Stupid bitch. I'll give you a piece of my mind, just you wait.
Young man, are you feeling okay?
No, Your Honor. I shake my head. I'm not feeling okay. I look up at him. I'm afraid I won't be of much use for the court. I can only tell Mr. Whit how my meeting with Lucy went. The other stuff from the shooting, I'll only be repeating what others said about it before me. I grab my head, shaking it slowly. I'm sorry. The judge shifts his attention from me to Rosa.
Young lady, do you know him?
He's my brother. She pauses. A little bit, Your Honor.
I see.
The old Diplodocus looks back at me, his eyes filling with a sort of fatherly warmth and compassion. He looks back at her again.
Is he suffering from some kind of condition?
PTSD, Your Honor, I tell him. It rarely ever gets so bad. I apologize.
Don't apologize.
He shakes his head.
Will you be able to testify?
I just need some time to calm down. I answer. The old Diplodocus nods and rubs his jaw.
Mr. Whit, Mr. Sudman.
Both lawyers approach us.
I'm temporarily removing this man from the courtroom.
He points at me.
You will be able to finish your examination of him later, after he's been called in again, Mr. Whit. Young lady, what is your name?
Rosa Arias Gazala, Your Honor.
Miss Gazala, take your brother out of the courtroom.
As we walk down the empty courtroom, I can hear Judge Bernard admonishing the prosecutor in an angry, annoyed way.
Your behavior is unacceptable, Mr. Whit.
He pauses.
The defendant was extremely agitated, and you chose to escalate the situation. Given this and your overall behavior throughout this trial, I am considering adjourning the court session and petitioning for a replacement.
Your Honor, The door shutting cuts Whit off. Rosa leads me to an empty bench where we sit. Reed sits at Rosa's side. Stella sits at mine. The fucking nerve in that bitch. I know she has something to say about how I testified, but I don't fucking give a shit. I'll deal with her later. I don't want to come off as a complete lunatic. Creaking of wheels. I lift my head. Rosemary's looking at me with great worry.
How are you?
She asks. Rosa squeezes my hand. I've been better. It's all my fault, isn't it? I make a wide, sweeping gesture with my other hand, encompassing the whole corridor and it all. I gave her the final push. Rosemary doesn't answer. She gives Reed a hard look. Out of the corner of my eye, I see him turning his head away. She then gives me the same look, which makes me bow my head, just to avert her eyes. They're burning with a purple flame of anger.
It's the fault of all of us here.
She says.
We didn't do enough for her.
This reminds me of what the fucking caveman said the one day at the hospital. Where the hell is he, anyway? Shouldn't he be testifying too? Why didn't he fucking come? Some fucking principle. Rosemary's scales rustle dryly when she rubs her eyes.
I was her friend too, you know. We were good friends. I thought I understood her well.
She sighs a bit shakily.
Shows how much I know of such things.
Spear should have gotten her a fucking counselor or something. A psychologist, therapist, anyone. Lucy's parents didn't agree to it. Reed sighs. They thought they could handle this themselves. I slowly turn my head to him. He's not looking at me, but at the floor. His knee is jerking up and down, bouncing as if on a trampoline. His foot taps on the floor. He's trembling slightly, and color hasn't fully returned to his cheeks yet. They handled it well. Amazingly. Fucking perfectly. Did Lucy tell you this? He nods. His foot keeps bouncing on the floor. He does nothing to prevent it from doing so. I turn my head back to Rosemary. She's still looking at me with great worry. There's some compassion in her eyes, but other than that, it's mostly anger. I deserve it. The final push was my doing. Sudman said so. I hang my head low, unclasping my hands and leaning forward. Rosemary wheels herself back a little. Why the fuck did that idiot keep pushing Lucy? I shake my head, hanging it low. Why?
She didn't know Nazar died.
Rosemary says slowly.
How? Her lawyer must have told her.
I don't know. I don't fucking know. I put my face into my hands. The teary-eyed, wild face of Lucy emerges from the void, alongside Naomi's ruined visage and Nazar's bloodied features. I gasp and sit up straight. Oh my fuck. I'll need some sleep pills tonight, sis. Rosa stares at me.
You shouldn't have come here.
She admonishes me. I want to be here for Lucy. She fucking needs me. I half turn to her, making her scoot aside a little. Whatever happens, I won't abandon her. Do you understand me? I point at her, almost bopping the tip of her snout with my finger. Whatever you, Stella, or anyone else says. She looks at my finger, then takes my hand in both of hers. She lowers them. She simply holds me, looking at me with warmth and kindness I long came to expect of her. She nods, squeezing my hand softly.
I understand.
She turns her head to Rosemary.
Rosie, how's Basil?
The sage twin looks over her shoulder at her brother. He's sitting with their parents, casting very anxious looks at her. The anxiety in his look turns into seething anger the moment he lays his eyes on any of the three of us.
He's not doing good.
She turns back to us.
He hasn't been doing well since May.
She sighs, lowers her head and rubs her eye with her palm.
Mom and Dad got him a great therapist, but he hasn't made much progress in his therapy. He's just so angry all the time. And sad. I can't stand to look at it, but what can I do?
She gives me a short glance, then turns back to Rosa.
I can't force him to get better.
Rosa lets go of me and beckons at Rosemary to come closer. After the Microraptor reels herself close enough, Rosa leans forward and hugs her. Rosemary trembles and blinks. Tears start from her eyes. She starts sniffling.
He loved Leo.
She quietly says.
You have no idea how much. When he said that he was the love of his life, he meant it. I know he did.
She mutters more to Rosa than any other of us. Rosa pats her on the back and gives her a shaky sigh of her own. She rubs Rosemary's back, her eyes closed, lip trembling.
They've been friends since elementary.
Rosemary says.
They knew they loved one another before they were juniors at Volcano.
She gives a soft sob.
I remember when he told me he loved Leo, and Leo loved him. He was so happy.
Her voice cracks and she falls silent. I clench my fists. Fuck. Swallowing down a curse, I stand up and start walking. Not towards Basil, but in the other direction. Someone starts up behind me. It's Reed. Where are you going? Just grabs my shoulder, stopping me. I'm going for a walk. I shake his hand off. Care to join me? You need to stay here, dude. Judge won't have a need for me for some time. I shrug. And I need to clear up my fucking head. I nod at Rosemary, crying in Rose's arms. This isn't helping. He looks at Rosemary. A long moment passes. He half turns from me, his shoes squeaking on the marble floor. He looks at her some more. He stuffs his hands in his pockets, clenches them into fists, then stamps his foot on the floor a couple times. Then turns back to me, cool and determined. I'll go with you. I don't want you getting jumped by someone, dude. Not in the state you're in. Jumped by who? Glenn, for example? Reed swallows. You didn't see him, since you were staring at Sudman so hard, but he turned purple when he heard what you'd said. He passes his hand through his hair, hanging his head and shaking it slowly. He was kind of supportive of you before, I think. But now, he'll kill you if he catches you alone. I turn to him. He's staring at the floor, rubbing the back of his head with a soft rustle of scales on scales. After a moment, he notices me looking at him and lifts his head with a questioning look. I think Naomi's old man would like to do the same. I lower my head slightly, grabbing my forehead with a sigh. Alright. Let's go. So we go. We walk down the corridor and reach a bend when a familiar voice of an angry munchkin stops us in our tracks.
Where are you going? The recess is almost over.
Reed freezes. The tip of his tail puffs up like a dustbuster. His whole body goes rigid. That is none of your fucking business, Trish, he says. Leave us alone. I turn the trigger. I want to clear my mind after what happened, and you being with me won't help. She steps back, looking hurt. Don't give me that fucking look. Puppy eyes won't work on me.
Alright.
She slowly turns away.
If you need someone to talk to, I'll be around.
She walks off. Reed curses under his breath. I fucking hate her, he growls. I pat his back. I know, Reed. Let's go. We move on. The further we go from courtroom number 2, the more deserted the corridors become. Soon, we're the only people there, with only a lone clerk passing us by from time to time. It's quiet here. Really quiet. It's not the kind of silence that I witnessed around the table at Rose's house this morning. It's not an empty silence. It's more of a solemn, contemplative brand of it. I welcome it wholeheartedly. When do you think they'll ask Trish? Reed grumbles under his breath. I hope they fucking sentence her. I glance at him. How would that work? Reed smirks viciously. Involuntary manslaughter. Negligence which resulted in a death. What did Trish do? She purposely messed with Lucy's guitar. What did that cause? A school shooting. I frown. I don't like Trish all that much, but being so vindictive isn't going to do anyone favors. I don't know, man. That's a bit of a stretch. He shrugs. Man can dream. Indulging in anger won't help anyone here. He hisses softly. Not everyone can be so fucking benevolent. I stop and turn to him. He rubs his head and sighs, dejected. I'm sorry, dude. It's what happened. It puts me on edge. He rubs his forehead with a soft groan. I knew this would be tough to get through, but fuck, man. Turns to the window and puts his hands on the sill. I come up behind him and put my hand on his shoulder. He sighs, glances at me over his shoulder, nods and gives a short, humorless chuckle. I'll get through this shit, Reed. Together. I pat his back. PA system booms across the corridors.
Parties in Aaron v. City of Volcadere are requested to return to the courtroom number 2.
I exchange looks with Reed. He nods and pushes himself away from the window. Let's go. As we arrive at the courtroom door, I see Rosa, discussing something with one of the security guards. She notices us and waves us over. We come closer. The guard gives me a prolonged look, nods, and ushers Reed and Stella in. The door shuts behind them. I'm left alone with Rosa. We don't talk. Not a word passes between us. The only sounds breaking up the silence are the muffled voices coming from inside of the courtroom. Judge Bernard raises his voice. His mouth bangs on the pulpit. Sudman says something. Says something else. I don't know what is saying things. What they're saying, I can't tell. The door's too thick. There's something about a doctor. Something about psychosis. Mental health. Raised, angry voices. Another person is talking about the same things. More angry rebuttals, more banging of a mallet. I don't know how much time has passed before the door is open, and I'm asked if I'm good to testify. Could have been an hour, 2 hours, 3. However long it was, it dragged on for what felt like eternity. An eternity of sitting with my stepsister in an empty corridor, waiting to be wrung out like a wet rag. Splendid. It's exactly how I want to spend my day. However long I've been sitting there, it's enough for me to calm down. I'm ushered in. Rosa follows behind. I'm welcomed by silence and curious looks from everyone present, from the witness to the jury. I take my seat at the witness booth and take the oath. Lucy's seat is empty. What that entails I can only speculate, but my mind is already racing, filled with the worst possible scenarios. At least her lawyer's still here. Whit asked me about the shooting and how my meeting with Lucy went. I tell him everything. I don't care anymore. I don't want to get off this fucking chair and go back to being just another face in the crowd. My examination ends without much fanfare. I leave the booth, sitting down next to Reed. He looks at me and nods at Lucy's chair. They sedated her, he murmurs. She won't be here for the sentencing. I frown. Defense calls a witness, Rosemary Eggman. I glance at Rosemary as she wheels herself to the witness bar. Whit made Sudman testify under oath that he wasn't some sort of stunt to affect the jury. Reed continues as Basil's sister is sworn in. It was quite something. I don't think it was a stunt. Why the fuck would he make her do something like this? On the other hand, it could affect the jury, even if, probably, they were told to ignore her outbursts. I can't even be mad at Whit for assuming such intent. Sudman is just as determined to win this case as him. Who knows what tricks he has up his sleeve. Miss Eggman. I turn from Reed to Sudman. He's standing next to Rosemary now, looking at her with great attention. For how long have you known the defendant?
Since I started high school. 4 years.
Did you know the defendant well? Rosemary looks up at Lucy's lawyer with a slight indignation, as if he asked a very, very stupid question.
We're friends.
Oh, hold up, I skipped some.
Since I started high school. 4 years.
Did you know the defendant well? Rosemary looks up at Lucy's lawyer with slight indignation, as if he asked a very stupid question. Okay, yeah, I like jumped. Oopsies.
We're friends.
Sudman narrows his eyes and looks at her even more attentively, bending towards her slightly. Are a segment?
Yes. Are.
She puts a strong emphasis on the last word.
I don't know if she still thinks we are. As in, not deserving of my affection after what she did, but I still consider her my friend.
Gal nods, clearly satisfied with the answer. Were you at prom?
Yes.
Did you attend the Vern drama concert that took place there?
Yes.
How did it go?
It went as bad as the others have said.
She tells him.
Lucy had a breakdown on stage. Her friends stepped out on her, and she was left alone to face the crowd.
She turns her head from Sudman for a long moment. Reed, Trish, and finally myself each earn a scornful look. The angry Munchkin gets the hottest, the angriest glares of us three.
Principal Spears was the only one to save her from further humiliation.
It's my turn to be stared down, with a look not only of scorn, but also anger and disdain. Her face contorts for a blink of an eye, then she's composed again. I bow my neck down. Mr. Mouse did nothing.
As far as I remember, nothing.
She says in a slightly trembling voice.
He went after her, but only after the principal told him to do so.
Sudman looks like he's about to give me another look, but he stops himself. Instead, he nods as if another piece of the puzzle falls into place. And the good boyfriend fails again, he says loud enough for all to hear. Don't think that I'm singling out Mr. Mouse, ladies and gentlemen. He raises his hands as if he was calming down an indignant crowd. No one says a word. There are some murmurs, yes, but nothing besides that. He was not the only one at fault here, no, he clears his throat. But let's get back on track. He looks at Rosemary. She looks back at him. Miss Eggman, where were you during the time of Naomi Chun's death? Rosemary pauses. She lets go of one of the handlebars of her wheelchair and reaches behind herself, touching herself on the lower back. She rubs the spot for a long moment, her eyes cast down and full of pain, blinking repeatedly. I take my eyes off her and look around to find her family. Her mother is resting on her father's shoulder, covering her eyes with her hand. She's shivering and softly sniffling. Basil stares at her with such a look of brotherly love and tenderness that, for a moment, I regret not having siblings. Her speaking up shifts my attention back to her.
I was in the same classroom as she and the defendant.
You've heard Mr. Steffen's testimony. Is it an accurate version of events?
Yes.
She nods. Murmurs start amongst the crowd. The jury starts talking between themselves in soft, hushed voices. Rosemary waits for complete silence before she speaks again.
But it's very incomplete.
She looks at Sudman. Mr. Steffens had been shot in the head. The trauma might have caused some memory loss. Gal agrees. Do you remember how the standoff between the defendant and Miss Chun proceeded? Rosemary smiles, both bitterly and with great pain.
Remember it?
She sighs softly, shakily.
forget it. As long as I live.
She rubs her lower back again. She closes her eyes, swallows, shivers, clenches her hand into a fist, then slowly opens her eyes, looks up at Sudman and begins.
I was sitting in the front row. Naomi was at the blackboard. She was solving some math problem. Suddenly I heard someone shout, "That crazy bitch has a gun!"
She grimaces with a growl. Murmurs. I clench my fists. Fuck. Fuck. If only I'd woken up half an hour sooner. Could have got to her in time.
Lucy screamed Naomi's name. Naomi turned to her.
Rosemary pauses.
I thought that she would be pissing herself from fear, but...
She hesitates, shaking her head, rubbing that one spot on her back.
But no. Naomi only looked at her so... angrily. She looked as if she was disappointed.
Rosemary pauses for a long moment. She wipes one eye, then another with her fist. After a deep breath, she continues in a tense, low voice.
What Millhouse said is accurate. Naomi did say that about the things she gets.
She pauses.
But Naomi said more. Let me think.
She scratches her head. Take your time, Miss Egmont. She does take her time. A lot of it. A lot of time, and a lot of effort not to burst into tears. At some points, she almost seems like she's about to cry, but she pulls through each time. How can someone that small be so strong? Always be a mystery to me.
Naomi said, I bust my ass trying to make you happy. To stop you from being such an antisocial weirdo who's breaking her own brother's heart, and this is the thanks I get. A gun pointed at my face.
Rosemary pauses to compose herself.
Lucy told her to shut up. Her voice was trembling like hell. She sounded like she was about to cry. Naomi took a step forward. She put her hands on her hips.
I can hear Trish cursing behind me, trying to keep her voice low. She's seething, boiling in rage. So am I, but I keep my mouth shut. I lower my head, as the scowl forming on my face could scare Rosemary. Not something I want.
Naomi said, I won't shut up, and you won't shoot me. Do you know why? Because you know I'm right. Lucy told her to shut up again. I remember thinking to myself, Naomi, shut the fuck up. You're about to die. I said nothing, though.
Sudman nods. Understandable. Please, continue. Rosemary sighs.
Naomi kept talking. She just wouldn't shut up. I don't know why. Maybe getting that prom queen title got to her head.
Miss Egmont, please do not theorize. Continue the testimony, please.
Of course, Your Honor.
Rosemary clears her throat.
Where was I? Yes.
She focuses on Gal.
She said that she was right and then added, I gave you a man who cares for you. I made you happy. I helped you become a better person. And what do I get for it? A threat of murder.
Murmurs. Loud murmurs. Reed clenching his fists, growling very softly, but also very angrily. Rosa, crushing the handkerchief in her hand. Me, staring at the floor with a scowl that would make Ripley piss himself. Trish, cursing the back row.
Lucy told her to shut up again. She was on the verge of tears, and there was an odd note to her voice.
She pauses.
Kind of high-pitched, unstable, a bit of a hiss. It all made every alarm bell in my head go off.
Another pause.
But Naomi, she
covers her eyes.
She kept on talking. Not only that, her face she made such a nasty scowl. Oh, God.
She falls silent for a long time. She stays still, her eyes covered with her hands, muttering under her breath, shivering as if she was cold. Sudman doesn't hasten her, neither does the judge. We wait.
Naomi said, "This really shows what you really are. An unkind, edgy, nasty, ungrateful..." And then Lucy pulled the trigger. She shrieked like she did here, but louder, much louder. She shrieked, "Shut up!" Then aimed at Naomi and kept shooting, repeating that.
She pauses once more. There's another long period of complete silence. We wait for her to continue, no one daring to move, to speak, or even to breathe. She spends that period mulling over what happened, slouching slightly forward, teary-eyed and downcast.
Then
She speaks up again.
Nobody moved. She stood there with the gun in her hand. I turned my head to look, and she had such a wild, crazy, dreamlike look on her face. Then Malice moved in his chair. She turned to him, screaming, "Shut up!" and shot him. Mr. Karlsdewski asked her to calm down, and then she shot him.
She pauses again.
I got up. She shrieked at me and pulled the trigger, but the gun was empty. I opened the door and started running.
Another pause. She lets her hand fall and looks at Gal.
I will never, ever forget what she screamed.
What did she scream, Miss Eggman? Rosemary swallows, grabs her snout and sniffles.
She screamed Naomi's name. That and only that. Then she shot me in the back. I fell. I couldn't get up or feel my legs. Then I heard someone run up to me. Then another gunshot. Lucy screaming, "You Paris slut!" Someone falling in.
She pauses, swallows wetly, and with her voice cracking, shaky and wet, she says, her eyes full of tears,
Hazel screamed. "Oh God, if you could only have heard him."
She can't hold back her tears anymore. She keeps talking, tears rolling down her cheeks.
I've never heard anyone scream like that.
A long, long moment of silence follows, broken up by Rosemary's soft sobs. Sootman hands her a handkerchief, which she gratuitously accepts. After a time, she calms down enough to be able to continue.
She walked past us. She was walking as if she was drunk, stumbling and breathing fast. She saw someone, I think. Then I think I passed out, because the next thing I remember was waking up in an ambulance.
Sootman gives a deep, solemn nod. He observes Rosemary for a long moment, then lifts his head, turning to the judge. I have no more questions for the witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Witt,
None, Your Honor.
you're free to go, Miss Egmont.
Rosemary returns the handkerchief, then wheels herself back to her family. They begin to comfort her. Strange. Basil looked at us so angrily when in the corridor, and yet, when he's looking at his sister now, there's no sign of that anger. It's more of a look of concern than anything else. After Rosemary, a couple more witnesses are called. They don't add much to the overall case. Most of them only pile on more of their experiences of the events of that Monday. Gal and Witt keep butting heads, arguing with one another, cross-examining each other's witness continuously. I listen to their testimonies half-heartedly, not caring about them in the slightest. I heard it before. I was there myself, so what they say is nothing new to me. After about 2 hours of such short testimonies, Sootman stands up. Defense calls a witness, Redmond Card. Reed rolls his shoulders and stands up. I nod at him. Rosa pats his hand. He's off to the witness booth. He's sworn in. Mr. Card, Sootman approaches him like a prowling tiger. How long have you known the defendant? Since primary school, Reed answers. Are you good friends? Very good friends, yes. Well, Mr. Guard, can you tell me, how did the student body of Volcano High treat you and the defendant prior to her starting the band? Reed scratches his head. They treated us normally, I think. Gal gives Reed a dubious look. You think? I was abusing substances back then, Reed admits, rubbing the back of his neck with a shameful look. I may be misremembering things. Gal pauses and hesitates. For the first time since I've seen him, he gives Reed a long, cautious look. Reed looks back at him, blinks, then freezes, as if realizing something. Gal waits a moment, puts his hands together, and with a fresh resolve, he continues. Abusing substances, Mr. Guard? Reed hesitates. Sudman is giving the same cautious look as before. He's not pushing him. He's waiting. He moves his hands behind his back and looks on, a patient expression spread on his face. Yes, Reed slowly answers. I see. Gal nods. Then, after a long moment of thoughtful consideration, he speaks up. When did it end? Reed doesn't bend. He keeps his back straight, his face composed, his look planted firmly on the lawyer. I wonder if his dad played pretend court with him, with his family sometimes. If not, he must have heard enough about trials from his old man to know how to act. Or his dad just gave him some advice. In May, he says, I had a momentary relapse in July, but I went to rehab and I'm clean now. Gal nods. It's a slow, curt nod. I'm glad you managed to overcome this issue, Mr. Card, he says. Let's get back on track, though. What did you mean by the defendant and her friend group being treated normally by her peers? No one laughed at us. We weren't being mocked. Well, some people did. But you know how high schoolers can be. I see. When did this period of normalcy end? Almost 2 years ago. Shortly after we started our band. Whose idea was that? The defendant's. Are you sure? Please take a moment to consider your answer. Reed narrows his eyes at the lawyer, but quickly checks himself and contemplates for a moment. You know, now that I think about it, the idea first came from Trish. Trish? Trisha Jones. Trish gasps softly in the back row. I wonder if Reed is telling the truth here and she's surprised about it, or if she's pissed that he's throwing her under the bus. I'd look, but I'd rather not meet Glenn's eyes. Another PTSD episode is not high on my agenda. Since you touched upon this subject, Mr. Card, tell me, did Miss Jones have a significant influence over the defendant? Very. For a time, she convinced the defendant that the defendant was non-binary. Another gasp from Trish, followed by a soft hiss. Did Miss Jones have a major influence on how the band function? We had a democratic system. We voted for everything. Did you often side with the defendant? Reed looks away, for the first time since his questioning began. He rubs the back of his head, staring at the floor with an embarrassed look. Mr. Card, please answer my question. Do you often side with the defendant? Reed looks at Gal. No. He slowly shakes his head. Why? I just went with the flow. I didn't like when my friends were fighting, so I went with the first option given. Just so happened that most of the first ones came from Trish. Sudman narrows his eyes and leans towards Reed a little. Reed is back to his former firmness and confidence, so it doesn't affect him much. Have you considered that by pursuing such a course of action, you may have been hurting your friend? A good friend? She didn't mind. Did she? You said you may be misremembering things. Please, reconsider your answer. Reed turns a shade paler. He chokes back a growl, so quickly that it escapes the judge's notice, but it is noticed by Sudman. The motherfucker frowns. Just like his smirk from before, it's so brief that I barely even catch it. I don't remember well, Reed says slowly and tensely. As I already said, I was abusing substances. Gal nods. Another extremely brief frown. He sighs and stands up straight. Mr. Card, what did you do after prom concert? Reed blinks. He pauses for a long moment. Just as before, Sudman doesn't press him. He gives Reed plenty of time to think and consider, even more than before. I went home. Reed moves his hand down his face, pausing at his eyes. Gal narrows his eyes. Was your phone on, Mr. Card? Yes. Why didn't you answer the defendant's calls? I wasn't sober until late Monday morning. Were you intoxicated? Yes, intoxicated, in a way. Reed nods. The prom, well, it was such a disaster. He runs his fingers through his hair. I took drugs. Sudman keeps looking at him for a very long moment, then steps away, puts his hands behind his back, and with Reed shivering beside him, he addresses the jury. Mr. Card has rendered himself insensible for 2.5 days. During this time, on the morning of May 25th, the defendant called his number. He turns up his hands and taps his finger on his palm. I mentioned the number of calls at the start of the court proceedings, ladies and gentlemen, but let me reiterate. 20. He taps his palm. 6. He taps it again. Times. Reed cowers. Rosa mumbles angrily. Despite his failings, the defendant trusted Mr. Card enough to reach out to him, to ask, to beg him to stop her from what she was about to do. What did Mr. Card do? Cut himself off from her. He pauses as he gives Reed a long, scornful look. Is that how a good friend behaves, ladies and gentlemen? He turns his head back to the jury. No. Oh, certainly not. Silence. Gal waits a bit, then turns to the judge. Your Honor, I would like to present evidence. My chest tightens. My stomach clenches. I swallow. With some difficulty, Rosa squeezes my shoulder, hard enough for it to hurt, but I don't even peep. The voicemails. Oh, fuck, Reed didn't delete those fucking voicemails.
You mean the voicemails, Mr. Sudman?
Yes, Your Honor.
Proceed.
Sudman goes over to his table. On his way, he notices me looking at him. He pauses as he picks up the disc, gives me a prolonged, thoughtful look, shrugs, and approaches the player. He inserts the disc. Reed, I'm about to do something absolutely fucking terrible. Please, pick up. Lucy sounds like she's on the verge of tears. I close my eyes. The memories of both that fucking Monday and that day on the beach rush in my mind like a river. A whole fucking river Nile of memories. I don't block them. I don't care. It would be useless anyways. And besides, I don't think I could block them off. Murmurs stir amongst everyone present. I don't want to do it, but I'm so fucking angry, Reed. I want her to pay for what she did to me, to you, to all of us, but... She chokes back a sob. Can I go over to your place? We can watch TV, talk, play on the Packy station. I don't know, anything you want. Answer, Reed, please. There are a few moments of ambient street noise before the message ends. Sudman turns to the jury. That's the first call of 26 the defendant made. Please take note of the words used. I don't want to do it, but I'm so angry. Also, note how agitated the defendant sounds in this recording. He clicks the remote. Here's the second voice message. Moment of ambient street noise. A shriek cuts through the silence. Pick up, you fucking junkie! Again, please take note of just how agitated the defendant sounds. She's not asking, she's demanding to be stopped. He clicks the remote. Some friend you are. I hope you overdosed and rot in a shitty condo. Click. You and Trish are fucking made for each other. Click. I'm sorry for yelling. Please don't be mad. Pick up, please. Notice the mood swings, ladies and gentlemen. The one moment the defendant is seething with rage, the next, she's on the verge of tears, meekly begging her friend to help. Click, click, click. All voicemails are played and heard. No stone is left unturned. Just as I remember them, they're either angry or extremely fucking sad. By the end, I realize that I'm crying. Fuck. I mutter, wiping my eyes. God damn it. Rosa hands me a tissue. I thank her with a nod and wipe my eyes properly. While Gal ejects the disc and returns to his table, I force myself to calm down. It ain't easy, but I manage to achieve it by the time Sudman returns to Reed's side. My friend is as pale as a wall and just as rigid. His eyes are glued to the floor. Mr. Card, if the defendant was here with us right now, what would you say to her? Reed slowly lifts his head. He looks at the lawyer, then at the empty seat, then back at Gal. I'd apologize, he slowly says. Your Honor, I have no more questions for the witness.
Mr. Witt.
A few, Your Honor.
If you please.
Witt stands up. Gal returns to his seat. Witt approaches Reed. Mr. Card, did the defendant ever display violent tendencies toward the people she disliked? You mean physical violence? Witt narrows his eyes. Any kind of violence? No. Reed shakes his head rapidly. She kept it all bottled up inside. Those treasured cracked skulls. Was the defendant prone to making threats of violence towards anyone? Witt asks, nearly cutting into the end of Reed's sentence. Did she ever share anything with you that could be interpreted as such? I mean text messages, something said in confidence, or even a written note. Reed shakes his head again. No. He looks hard at the attorney. As I said, if she harbored dislikes, she kept them to herself. She never threatened or attacked anyone. Sure, she got into trouble, but never for hurting someone. Witt nods, puts his hands together, and muses for a long moment. What about her brother? Reed narrows his eyes. That motherfucker. Rosa grabs my shoulder, forcing me back down into the seat. I glare at her. She shakes her head. What about him? Did she hate her brother, Mr. Card? Witt demands. That would explain why she killed him. Objection! Gal starts from his seat. The defendant was not aware of her actions at the time of Nazir Aaron's death. Witnesses and documentation provided by defense prove that.
Upheld. Mr. Witt, rephrase the question.
Did the defendant hate her brother? She did not. Witt steps away, crosses his arm, and nods a couple times. No, really. Then explain to me why in their text messages the defendant referred to her brother as, and it's a direct quote from a message extracted from a phone, fucked winged retard. Reed blinks. He quickly shakes the surprise off and clears his throat. I did not peruse her phone. Why would I do that? He narrows his eyes, looking at Witt as if he was a fucking moron. Of course. Mr. Card, you said that you may be misremembering things. Are you certain this isn't one of them? Reed's face darkens. If the defendant did hate her brother, and made it apparent, which would quite darn unusual for her, I would most certainly remember it very clearly. He answers coolly. Drugs or no? Witt glares at him. No more questions, Your Honor. Reed gets up and goes back to his seat. Witt eyes him as he goes past, waits until my friend sits down, then turns towards the jury, who are eyeing him expectantly. He does have an air of someone who's about to reveal some great secret. He heads over to his table, from which he picks up a thick folder, stuffed with papers. Your Honor, I'm in possession of copies of text messages mentioned. He lifts the folder up. Will you allow me to distribute the evidence amongst the jury?
Proceed, please.
Witt approaches the jury. He hands out the papers, which the members of the bench start perusing amongst the rustling of paper. Witt also hands over a copy to Sudman, who starts to read it with some interest. Please, take note of the aggressive tone in the text messages, he says, and the frequent use of the FWR abbreviation explained earlier. The jury reads into the papers for some time. Whit waits. The jury is done with the papers. They return them to Whit. Whit goes back to his table, puts the folder down, and returns to his spot before the judge. Here is my version of events. At the prom, Naomi Chun and Neza Aaron were crowned queen and king. He pauses. That irritated the defendant. Another pause. After the concert ended in a disaster, Mr. Mouse revealed Naomi Chun's plan to the defendant. Third pause. That exasperated the dislike the defendant felt toward Naomi Chun for a long time, to the point of her deciding to murder Miss Chun. Since a brother, whom she disliked, as apparent from the text messages between her and him, was in a relationship with Miss Chun, she decided to kill him as... I start from my seat. You don't know shit about her! I shout, pointing at him. She did not hate Nazar. She would never hurt him!
Mr. Mouse, sit down,
the judge orders. My examination of you is complete, Mr. Mouse, Whit calmly replies. If you recalled anything that could help the case, I can call you to the witness bar again. I sit down. Whit looks back at the jury, who are eyeing me with some interest. Some are murmuring amongst themselves, their voices sounding just as intrigued as their looks are. Whit clears his throat, bringing the jury's attention back to himself. She decided to kill her brother as well. She took her father's gun, spent a night with Mr. Mouse. Then, on the next day, she killed Miss Chun, Mr. Aaron, and 4 other people, after which, overwhelmed with guilt, she decided to take her own life. Whit nods towards me. Mr. Mouse saved her life at the last moment. I bend over and put my hands into my palms. Reed puts his hand on my back. This is a fucking nightmare. Fuck. Interesting tale, Mr. Whit. Sudan's chair rumbles as he pushes it back to get up. It's a shame it's not true. I can almost see the prosecutor motherfucker frowning and glaring at Sudman. Which part is false, Mr. Sudman? The defendant showed intent of killing Naomi Chun. She also harbored dislike towards her brother, as evident from the text message between her and her brother. She did not kill 6 people and directly caused the deaths. She did kill 6 people and directly caused the deaths of 2. He pauses. Will you now tell me, the judge, and the jury, that the defendant in actuality did not dislike her brother? Sudman is silent for a moment. No one knows about their siblings more than their parents, Mr. Whit. Wait, is he going to call Samantha to testify? Your Honor, the defense calls forth a witness, Ripley Aaron. I freeze. I can't move. My head is empty as if I myself was shot and had my brain scattered all over the place. Chills run through my whole body. My skin's tingling, as if an army in ants was mustering for war, and I was their training grounds. My hands clutch my face so hard that both my fingers and my face hurts. Ripley? Oh no. Oh God, no. Rosa leans over and puts her arm around me. She starts rubbing my back, murmuring encouragement in a mixture of Spanish and English. Outwardly, she's calm, but her heart is pounding hard. Really hard. Her horn is kind of digging into my scalp, but I don't fucking care. Ripley. After all that time, I get to hear that motherfucker's voice again. Ripley. The fucking Grim Reaper himself. He's in prison or jail right now, who knows? Will they bring him here in person? What? Ripley. The father of the fucking century. I bet his testimony will be very valuable indeed. Why the fuck is Sudman calling him to testify? Won't it go against what I said at the FBI offices? All is ready, Your Honor. Begin the call. I let go of my face. I look up at the screen. Here he is. Ripley motherfucking Aaron himself. I have to say, orange really suits him. Hope he never gets to take it off.
Mr. Aaron, stand up and be sworn in.
Ripley is sworn in. The moment I hear his voice, the memories, the rage, the pain, and the fear awaken, all melding together, gripping me like a vice. I can't move. I can't speak. I can only look and listen. Ripley doesn't look at me, I think. He's looking at the judge, I think. He changed. He got thinner. There are many more wrinkles under his eyes. He looks tired and worn out, but still he's a beast of a man. His ankles and wrists are chained with thick chains. He's sitting in a small room with nothing but a table, a chair, and a pair of armed guards. He's keeping his hands clasped on the table. Mr. Aaron, Soodman begins as soon as he's given a nod by the judge. What kind of relationship did the defendant have with her brother? Ripley pauses. He murmurs to himself, shifting a little in his seat, the chains clinking and clanking.
May I know the context behind this question before I answer it?
Of course. Soodman fills Ripley in on Whit's version of events. Hearing about me and Lucy doing the deed, Ripley tenses up, but doesn't move a muscle. Look of anger and seething rage bubbling in his eyes is enough to make me close mine, just to avoid his look. Doesn't matter if the look isn't meant for me. It still hits way too close to home.
I see.
Grim Ripley rubs his jaw with the tops of his hands.
Well, knowing that, I'll answer. My daughter had a good relation with her brother. Her attitude towards him, which the prosecution hints at, was nothing but an act.
I blink. How can he claim such things? How the fuck does he know? Gal asks him the exact same question. Ripley is quiet for a time, considering his answer. Then, with a rustle of prison gown, a creak of the chair, and a clanging of chains, he answers.
Follow the intuition.
Rumbling of a chair.
Your Honor, I have to object to this inquiry.
Whit speaks up.
If Mr. Aaron does not have anything more solid than his own thoughts and assumptions, his testimony carries so little value that the cost of acquiring it greatly outweighs the potential benefits resulting from the procurement.
Clinking of chains.
We spoke on Sundays, Ripley says. She told me how she felt about Nazar.
He pauses.
She didn't hate him, Your Honor. She just felt guilty for what happened to him.
Neither Soodman nor Whit speaks. A chair creaks. Whit is sat down.
Me and Samantha, I know we weren't the best of parents.
Ripley continues in a calm, collected manner.
We had our failings, especially me.
He pauses.
I am not an emotional man, Your Honor. I couldn't have been such a man in my old line of work.
What exactly did the defendant say, Mr. Aaron?
I don't remember the exact words. It's been so long,
Ripley admits.
But I remember her asking me multiple times to forgive her for what happened. She told me that she does not deserve to be loved by her brother.
He pauses once more. You mentioned something happened to the defendant's brother, Soodman presses on. What was that?
He fell off the bluff when he was a child,
Ripley replies.
Lucy told him that he can fly. He believed her. She tried to kill him. They were just kids.
What? What? No. Oh, God. Lucy never told me this. She never told Trish the details. Did she ever tell Reed? I look at him. He's staring at the screen, his face tense, a sort of faded pain lingering in his eyes. His fists clenched, his knee jerking up and down. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck, he knows. I hear jury members murmuring amongst themselves. They are very surprised, judging from their voices. Could they be as surprised as me? Lucy's goddamn boyfriend? Ripley continues after a long pause.
After that, she felt guilty. We didn't blame her, but Samantha and I focused on Nazar more, since he needed attention after his incident.
More murmurs from the jury and from the audience. A mixture of compassion and pity for Nazar from the audience, even more surprise and interest from the jury. Ripley keeps talking.
We never really changed back to what was before. And this drove Lucy away from us, away from me. But she still trusted me, no matter what anyone says.
I can almost imagine him thinking of me when he says that.
Fuck. Shit.
Maybe I did misjudge you, Rip. I'm not sorry, you're still a piece of shit, but in that regard, I may have misjudged you. Maybe Reed misjudged you too. He does look quite surprised hearing your humble tone and self-reproach. Ripley continues on. Unaware of my thoughts. If you knew them, I don't think you would care about them.
I swear, God help me, she would never hurt her brother. What she did that day, she would never do that if she had even a shred of sense left in her.
After a long moment of silence, broken up by murmurs all over the courtroom, Sudman turns to the judge. I have no more questions for the witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Witt?
None, Your Honor.
Then the call, please.
Ripley, sitting with his head low and his eyes covered with his fingers, disappears from the screen. The defense calls forth a witness, Trisha Jones. Chair rumbling in the back. Slow, uncertain footsteps, approaching from behind. Trish passes me by, is sworn in, and sits down. Gal observes her for a long moment, like a predator watching its prey hounded into a corner. Tries to return his look with some of her old confidence and cockiness, but only comes off as trying too hard to be intimidating. Her facade quickly crumbles under his stern look, and soon she's sitting with her head low. Miss Jones, Gal begins, clasping his hands behind his back. How long have you known the defendant? Since elementary school. How would you describe your relationship with the defendant? We were friends. You were friends, Miss Jones? Gal pauses and looks at her. Well, you've heard earlier how she feels about me, Trish explains. Friends don't talk to one another like that. That is true, Gal nods. Can you tell me, what could have broken up a friendship lasting all the way from elementary school up until your high school days? Trish pauses. She bows her neck, gluing her eyes to the floor. She rubs her eyes. She's crying again, I think. Trish pauses. I heard her. She clenches her hands into fists. Suddenly, she lifts her head up and looks at Gal straight in the face. That look is quite something. Her face, twisted into an angry scowl. Tears dripping down her face, a hard look in her eyes, a slight flush. It was me. I made that fucking concert fail. Murmurs. They're quiet at first, but they rise in volume, quickly becoming a buzz of angry, indignant voices. It never becomes louder than that. And yet for me, the anger, the seething rage bubbling under the disturbed surface is enough to make it all sound louder than if everyone was screaming. Trish cowers under such assault, but only for a brief moment. She focuses on Sudman again, and without him saying anything, she starts talking in a quick, heated way. I planned this. Murmurs grow louder. The judge clears his throat and casts a sweeping look over the courtroom. Murmurs die down, in the auditorium part of the courtroom anyway. The jury members continue to murmur between themselves. Some are casting surprised, almost shocked looks at Trish. I wanted the defendant for myself, Trish continues, uncaring for what's going on around her. I wanted the She checks herself. Mr. Mouse to see her as a loser, to dump her. It didn't work. She pauses, wiping her eyes, chokes back a sob, clenches her fist, strikes the bar with it, and continues, staring at Sudman with wide-open eyes. It backfired. I hurt everyone. It's my fault. My fault. My fault. She bursts into tears and starts sobbing. Reed shifts in his seat. I look at him. What an odd look. He almost looks as if he feels bad for her. Wait, no. He's satisfied. He agrees with her. He's even nodding, softly growling, while she cries her eyes out. Stupid bitch. It is your fault, he mutters.
Don't sentence Fang. Sentence me.
Trish looks up at the judge.
Me, not her. It's all my fault.
It's all my fault. She truly does think that. Fucking hell. Me and the goblin have more in common than I thought. The judge looks down at her. He has no compassion for her. Only a hard look and a stern face.
This is a court of justice, Miss Jones, not a court of butterfly effect,
He tells her coolly.
We are examining the case and the defendant. You did not commit any crimes, so we cannot sentence you.
Trish lowers her head and covers her face with her hands. Sidman hands her a handkerchief, saying he gave to Rosemary. Trish takes it, wipes her eyes with excessive violence, and gives it back, all wet and crushed up. He takes it, puts it in his pocket, and waits. After a long moment of her not saying anything, he opens his mouth. Miss Jones, Mr. Card said that you convinced the defendant that she was non-binary. Is that true?
Yes,
Trish replies.
I really thought I was helping her find herself. I went a bit overboard at some points, I guess.
A bit, Reed growls. I could bite you, damn you. What did you mean by going overboard, Miss Jones?
I kind of forced some things onto...
Trish pauses for a moment, then with some hesitation, corrects herself.
Lucy.
What things?
For example,
Trish wipes her eyes.
I made her play the bass guitar, even though she wanted to play an acoustic one.
Why'd you do that?
I thought that it would make the band more unique, put us on the radar, make us more marketable.
Trish says quietly and downcast. And you broke said guitar, if I remember correctly from the recording Mr. Card made of you your last reprisal. Trish freezes. She grips the bar and glares at Gal with a wild look.
I already told you. I planned this. I told you why. What else do you want from me to tell you?
Why?
Excuse me?
Why'd you do all those things, Miss Jones?
What do you mean?
Gal puts his hands together and nods them at Trish, nodding at the same time. She blinks, uncertain what he means by that. I'll be direct, Miss Jones. He pauses. The defendant was going through a hard time in her life. She needed someone who could support her. A strong, reliable friend. Trish grips the bar, starting from her seat.
I was trying to be such.
Sit down, Miss Jones. Trish looks up at the judge, cowers, and slightly lowers herself onto the seat. Neither of which you, Mr. Card, or Mr. Mouse were, Gal continues, ignoring his interjection. Instead, he stands up straight and turns towards the jury. One of her only two friends during that time was a person who, due to his personal difficulties, didn't care about what was going on around him. The other was a manipulator, he nods towards Trish, who made it her mission to steer the defendant's life in the direction of her choosing. Trish cowers, as if after a blow. Gal pauses for a moment before continuing, still addressing the jury. Meanwhile, her boyfriend was an apathetic young man who, if not for the circumstances surrounding the formation of her relationship with her, wouldn't end up in it. He nods at me. I turned my head away from him, just in time to catch a glimpse of Milhouse, glaring at Trish as if he was seeing her for the first time in his life. He's angry. Really angry. Even under all those bandages and braces, I can see him scowling. He notices me looking. He turns to me and glares at me with the same indignation, while Sudman continues. Mr. Mouse cared just as little about what was going on with the defendant as Mr. Card did. I'm not saying that, as of now, he's still entertaining such an attitude, he pauses. But back then, when the defendant needed him most, he simply did not care. I turn pale at the moment he mentions me. A scowl forms on my face, growing nastier as he keeps going, until by the end of his little speech, it's an angry mask. Mellis returns as best he can, given his state. Stacy joins him in leering, her eyes carrying reproach. He and she don't know this glare of mine is not meant for them. But what can I do? Get up and tell them? Judge will kick me out. Miss Jones, you exploited the trust the defendant had for you. Gal finally honors Trish with a look. She returns it, shaking in rage, tears in her eyes, teeth clenched, hands clasped around the bar. You exploited trust stemming from years of mutual friendship. He nods his hands at her again. Trish shivers but keeps her head up. You turned her into something she was not, for selfish reasons. I blink, turn pale. Trish recoils as if she was struck. I lower my head and grab my temple. The soles of Gal's shoes squeak as he turns. The same exact fucking words. Raptor, Jesus fucking Christ. You forced the defendant to do things the way she did not enjoy and clearly disliked. Gal keeps enumerating, each sentence a blow to Trish, and to some extent, me. And when the push came to shove, you abandoned her like Mr. Card. Another long pause. Your Honor, the defense has no more questions for the witness. The court is silent as Gal returns to his seat. There is some murmuring, very angry murmuring. I look up. Trish is sitting as still as a statue, avoiding the eyes of everyone in the courtroom. She's shivering.
Mr. Witt.
I have a couple of questions.
If you please.
Witt approaches Trish. She eyes him with clear dislike, which, when combined with her teary eyes and dejected look, gives her an air of a victim about to be tortured.
Miss Jones, did the defendant ever display violent tendencies?
Trish shakes her head, dislike on her face growing rapidly. No, never. She never threatened anyone. She did answer with Nazar, but she didn't hate him. Mr. Card told you who was the bruiser in our band. She jabs herself on the chest with her thumb. It was me. Lucy played and sang. I was the muscle. Witt nods.
Where were you on May 25th?
I was at home in the morning. Me and the defendant had one hell of an argument the previous day. I got a text from her and she was worried that she was about to do something drastic, so I went to school and... She cringes, pausing suddenly. Her face twists into a sad grimace. And it was all over. Hannon came shortly after me. I got mad, very mad. I saw him pulling Lucy back from the edge. She wipes her eye with her fist, her jaw trembling. I didn't come inside at any point, so don't ask me. Witt nods. He turns away from Trish and looks up at the judge.
The prosecution has no more questions for the witness, Your Honor.
The judge nods. He looks at Gal, then at Witt, and after a long moment of silence, he speaks up.
Does the defense have any more evidence to present?
Gal rises. No, Your Honor. He sits down.
Prosecution?
None, Your Honor. Judge nods, very briefly discusses something with his clerks, then clears his throat, and quiets down the audience with his mallet.
Order, please. Let's move on to closing statements. Mr. Witt.
The prosecution stands up, walks over to the middle of the court, clasps his hands behind his back, and addresses the whole court, giving a nod and a look at the jury from time to time.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the Honorable Judge, my name is Witt Michaels, and as you know, I am a prosecutor in this case. In my opening statement, I mentioned that I would call 10 witnesses to testify as to the defendant's guilt, and that I shall procure evidence to support said claim.
He pauses. He's answered by silence and the attention of the jury bench.
The witnesses had testified, and as explained, and the evidence has been produced. Here are the facts we have proven.
He pauses, sweeping the court with a single, wide look. Again, silence.
1. The defendant harbored a dislike towards Naomi Chun for a long time, which over time turned to hatred. 2. On May 25th, the defendant arrived at Volcano High School with the intent of murdering Naomi Chun. 3. The defendant carried out her objective, and then proceeded to kill and mortally wound 7 other persons, wounding 5 non-fatally.
Long pause. Wit waits for murmurs to die down before continuing.
I would like you to reject the defense's theories of the case. The claims of mental illness suddenly gripping the defendant just as she is about to kill her first victim are ridiculous.
Can't help but to clench my fists. Stupid motherfucker. Were the testimonies of the doctors not good enough for you? Was Sudman explaining to you that all of this was a long time coming not enough? What the hell? You damn dickhead! Wit continues, uncaring about my tribulations.
We cannot prove with complete certainty at what point the defendant's mental state deteriorated to the point of her not being able to be held accountable for her actions.
He nods at Sudman, who's listening to the oration with cool composure.
Did she reach that state as she was pulling the trigger the first time?
Wit lifts his finger.
Or did she reach that point as she was ascending the stairs to continue her rampage?
He taps his finger on the palm of his hand.
The witnesses, especially specialists in psychiatry, produced by the defense have failed to provide us with sufficient evidence to prove to us that the defendant was not lucid. They were simply not credible, Your Honor. Yes, the defendant was agitated. Yes, the defendant was erratic. But she had enough presence of mind to announce her intentions to 3 of her friends in quite a poetic manner, as you have read.
He turns to the jury.
I glare at him.
Poetic manner? You stupid motherfucker. You just couldn't see the desperation in those texts, could you? She called Reed 26 times. Who in the right state of mind will call someone 26 fucking times?
The witness produced by the prosecution clearly stated that the defendant showcased efficiency and skill in utilizing weaponry only a person in sound state of mind could lay claim to.
He turns towards what part of the auditorium where his witnesses sit.
What do these people have to gain by lying? By being dishonest and obscuring the truth? Nothing, ladies and gentlemen. The only product of them doing so would be the defendant not suffering sufficient punishment for her actions.
Murmurs of agreement. Jury observes Wit attentively.
What about the witnesses of the defense? Michaels nods at Gal. They were the defendant's friends or her relations, close and distant. They have nothing to gain by obscuring the truth. They have much to gain by obscuring the truth. Their friend, their relation would help her avoid justice and retain her freedom.
Another pause.
We heard the defendant's testimony provided by the Volcadero Police Department. Why wouldn't the defendant lie? Why wouldn't she claim that she just doesn't remember doing anything she's accused of? Well, that's a very easy claim to make.
He looks around, challenging anyone to disprove his claim. No one's up for it.
She doesn't want to be held accountable. That much is obvious. She went as far as to resort to theatrics.
Sudman shoots up from his seat.
Objection, Your Honor. This matter has been thoroughly examined by the court, and the outburst was proven to not have been planned.
Upheld. Judge glares at Wit. Mr. Wit, you yourself had called Mr. Sudman to testify this. Are you trying to disprove your own claim?
Wit coughs. Your Honor, I was merely using a figure of speech. What I meant by it is that the defendant may have thought of such a contingency.
It has been proposed by Mr. Sudman to call the defendant to testify via video call so she could testify on her own defense. You declined the proposal. The judge leans forward. That casts a serious doubt on your last statement, Mr. Wit.
Wit turns slightly paler. He hesitates for a moment. It's obvious that he got carried away. Sudman must have known this would happen. I would argue that the defendant was still in an agitated state and that she would not be able to be fit to testify. The court psychologist would argue otherwise, Mr. Wit, Sudman retorts. Sufficient time had passed for the defendant to calm down. I'll say more, she was willing to defend herself. It was you who declined the occasion to prove the point you're trying to make now, Mr. Wit. Witty boy had walked into a trap of his own making. He got so lost in his grandeur that he made a big blunder. I can't help but smirk, seeing him lose his composure.
even if for just a moment. I retract my statement pertaining to the defendant's outburst, Your Honor. Very well. Judge Bernard nods, first with his head and then with his hand. Please continue. Witt continues, without as much ferocity as before. The blunder he made really put the wind out of his sails, and I'm here for it. I want to remind you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, of the principles of our society. He turns to the jury. The members of the jury are watching him with much less respect than just moments ago. And he was doing so well. Poor guy. And people must be held accountable for their actions. We cannot let excuses, such as those made by the defense, Witt once again nods at Gal, interfere with those principles, because if we let it happen, then society is doomed to fall into chaos. He pauses for a long moment, putting his hands together at his waist. He fully turns to the jury. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I would ask that you find the defendant guilty as charged. He says the last three words with strong emphasis and in a slightly louder voice. That is all, Your Honor. Thank you, Mr. Witt. Please sit down. Mr. Sudman, if you'd please. Gal gets up slowly. He pushes his chair back soundlessly, with great deliberation and purpose. He casts a brief look at Witt, who had already sat down, and, in a slow, confident stride, he moves to the middle of the court. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, he nods at the jury bench. Your Honor. He nods to the judge and nods. He turns to the judge and nods at him. Ladies and gentlemen of the gathered public, he nods at us. My name is Gal Sudman, and as you know, I'm the defense lawyer in this case. He gives a slight bow, both of his upper body and the head, turning as to bows from the jury bench to the judge to thus. In the case that the prosecutor presented to you today, there is insufficient evidence to convict the defendant. He pauses, gives Witt another brief look, then continues. The arguments presented and the testimonies of the witnesses speak nothing of the state of the defendant's mind. They are only dry facts. Yes, we know the facts, ladies and gentlemen. The defendant killed 6 people, wounded 5. Her actions caused the deaths of 2. What we also know, and which has been proven over the course of this trial, is that the state of the defendant's mind at the time of committing said deeds absconds her of all responsibility. The prosecution did nothing but insinuate and throw empty accusations of lie and deception, all the while contradicting itself and showing unwillingness to cooperate in discovering the truth of some matters touched upon over the course of this court case. He gives Witt a prolonged stare. The prosecutor shifts in his seat. Yeah, you fucked up, Witty boy. Should have watched your fucking mouth. The prosecution claimed that witnesses presented by the defense had much to gain by lying and obscuring the truth, and yet it showed the very same behaviors during the trial. It attacked the specialists provided by the defense, basically accusing them of lacking proper credentials to make claims they had made pertaining to the state of mind of the defendant at the time of the crime. They refused to collaborate in discovering the truth by the defendant's outburst. Why would the prosecution do that? I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, and Your Honor, because it would invalidate every single claim. Gal underlines those 3 words by tapping his palm with his finger. Made towards the soundness of mind of the defendant. Gal pauses. The attention of the jury is now fully upon Gal. He's in his element, clearly. Maybe, just maybe, there's hope for Lucy. Maybe, just maybe, she'll be spared life in prison. The prosecution claims that the witnesses provided by the defense had a lot to gain from lying and obscuring the truth. What would they have to gain from that? He spreads his arms in a show of confusion. They would feel the weight of the defendant's crimes on their own shoulders if they were to do that. They would have to live with the thought that they helped a criminal, a beast, avoid just judgment. Some of the jury members start nodding. Well, 1, 2, maybe there's hope yet. But the defendant is not a beast. Gal slowly shakes his head. No, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, no, Your Honor. The defendant is not a ruthless beast, like the prosecution has been attempting to portray her as. He turns to the jury fully. The whole bench is watching his every move, listening to his every word. Fuck, this guy's worth every single dime. The defendant? It's a girl. Gal calms his voice, going from a high and heated to calm and composed in the space of a single sentence. A girl. Abandoned by her friends. A girl whose family turned away from her. A girl whose peers relentlessly mocked and ridiculed her, making her an outcast. I keep my eyes glued to the jury. Maybe, just maybe, she's a girl who lost all hope. Gal takes a step towards the jury bench. She's a girl who's been continuously pushed toward the precipice by every single person in her life. Another step. She's a girl who broke under the weight of hopelessness of her position. It is not the burden of that girl to prove her innocence. Rather, it is the burden of the prosecution to prove her guilt. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Whit shifting in his seat. I wonder what he's thinking. Maybe he's seething that he just lost the case. I sure fucking hope so. The prosecution did not meet that burden. Gal turns from the jury and measures Whit up with a glare. I would like to ask you to render the only verdict that is fair, and that is not guilty. He puts a strong emphasis on the last two words. He stands still for a moment, surrounded by complete silence and stillness. Then, with his hands clasped behind his back, bent slightly forward, he moves to the middle of the courtroom and turns to the judge. That is all, Your Honor. Judge Bernard is quiet for a brief moment. He clears his throat and looks at the jury. One of the members stands up. He must be the head of the bench. Your Honor, the jury requests 4 days' time to consider the evidence. He sits down. The judge nods.
It shall be provided.
He picks up his mallet.
I order 4 days recess in court proceedings. The court session will continue after that time.
He bangs once on the pulpit.
Security, open the doors.
Rumbling chairs all around me. Voices, going from a murmur to a buzz. I don't move. I keep my eyes on the jury. They're already locked in a fierce discussion with one another, even as they are themselves filing out of the courtroom. Some of them are shaking their heads. Some speak with great vehemence. They're gone. And so are most of the audience. Witnesses, their families, and others. They're soon gone from the courtroom. With only me, Rosa, and Reed remaining. Stella's nowhere to be seen. I sigh, and gripping the chair before me, I stand up with some difficulty. Rosa murmurs something to me, too quiet for me to discern the words. I shrug. We leave the courtroom. We go down the corridor. I don't listen to what those around us have to say. I keep my eyes glued to the door outside, through which we soon pass. We're welcomed by a storm of voices. Journalists. Those who came to show how they feel about Lucy. I don't care. I keep my eyes glued to Rosa's car, my ears closed to words. We push through the throng. We walk across the parking lot. Reed gets into the car with us. We drive off. I don't care. I keep my eyes glued to my knees and my ears closed to the conversation Rosa and Reed are having. We arrive at Reed's house. We get out. Rosa hugs Reed. She boops his snout with hers. A kiss. Reed shakes my hand and says something. I don't care. Keep my eyes glued to the car's door and my ears closed to the words of encouragement. Me and Rosie get back into the car. We drive home. It's a silent ride. She tries to start a conversation once or twice, but I don't care. I keep my eyes glued to my thighs, my ears closed to everything. We arrive at home. I get out of the car, say hi to Mom and Dad, then go up to my room. Mom asks about the verdict. I don't answer. I don't care. My eyes are open, but my ears are closed. I go into my room. I lie on the bed. Hope, despair, fear, and uncertainty well up in my chest. I curl up into a ball. Tears roll down my face as I cry. Completely silent. The 4 days separating us from the verdict flew by extremely quickly. I barely remember anything from them, besides anxiety and annoyance at the journalists camping just outside the farm. There weren't many of them, but they were interfering with the daily routine of the farm. At least, I think so. I remember Simone saying something to that effect at the table once. He sounded really pissed. I don't remember what I said. I barely remember what I did. Farm work, possibly. I was doing such a bad job with it that Rosa stepped in to replace me. Such a good damn sister. She has so much work around the farm, and yet she stepped in for her clumsy stepbrother. All that occupied my mind during those 4 goddamn days was Lucy. And the verdict. Would she be there for the sentencing? Possibly. Maybe not. 4 days may be enough time for her to settle down enough to go to court again. Would Lucy be found guilty? Would she be found innocent? What will I do if she's found guilty? How much of our lives would change if she ended up in prison after all? Not much, I reckon. But who knows what'll happen with her being so disturbed. October 5th. Monday. Sky is so overcast as we drive to the court. No music this time, only the rumble of the engine and an overbearing silence between me and Rosa. We don't exchange even a word. I'm tense. She's tense. We arrive. She parks. Just like 4 days ago, there's a whole crowd of people milling about in and around the parking lot. Just like 4 days ago, we have to push through the journalists and endure invectives thrown at us. Just like 4 days ago, we meet with Reed inside the courthouse. He's shaken up. If I recall correctly, his dad was extremely pissed that he mentioned his drug problems in court. Something about damaged reputation rattles around in that skull of mine. I think Reed either called Rosa or came over during those couple of days of waiting. I don't remember. Trish is there too. She was crying for days from how red and puffed up her eyes are. Her hair is neatly arranged though, and there's no trace of tears on her clothes. She tries to get a word in with me, but I ignore her and enter the courtroom with Rosa and Reed. I have my own tribulations to worry about Trish. You're on your own for now. We sit down. All rise. The judge and jury enter. We sit down again.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Judge Bernard nods his head at us. My name is Bernard Parrish, and as you know, I'm the judge overseeing the court proceedings in this court case.
He adjusts his glasses.
We have gathered here today to hear the verdict of the jury pertaining to the case of Aaron v. City of Old Cadera.
He turns to the jury bench.
Jury, have you reached the verdict?
Head of the jury stands up. He's holding a sheet of paper. Yes, Your Honor. I swallow. Rosa grips my hand. Reed tenses up. A tense silence falls over the whole courtroom. One of the clerks heads over to the jury and retrieves a folder, which he then hands over to the judge. No one moves. No one says anything. No one makes a sound. It's all complete silence and stillness, filled with tension and anticipation. The judge opens the folder and takes out a sheet of paper. He studies it for a moment. I close my eyes, taking in a deep, shaky breath. Rosa's grip on my hand tightens. Reed shifts in his seat. I can almost hear the beating of his heart.
The defendant, Aaron Lucy, has been found not guilty,
murmurs stir immediately, rising sharply like a tidal wave of indignation. Soon it's a buzz. Moments later, it's a tsunami of shouting and jeering. I don't give a shit. My girl. She's innocent. Innocent!
Order!
George Bernard bangs on the pulpit a couple times.
Order!
The murmurs die down, slowly and reluctantly. The judge throws a wide, sweeping look over the courtroom, which quiets down all the outliers. He then adjusts his glasses and continues reading.
Not guilty on account of insanity.
He pauses. Your Honor, I would like to poll the jury. Wit stands up. The judge looks at Wit.
Of course, you have every right to.
A weird proceeding follows. Each member of the jury is called to the witness booth, one by one. Wit asks each 3 questions. Was this your verdict? Is this now your verdict? Do you still agree and assent thereto? Each and every single member of the jury answers yes to each of those questions. Wit's shoulders sag with each reply, clearly unsatisfactory for him. I don't care. He can piss and shit himself if he wants. He lost, and he should stop being such a fucking sore loser.
Are you satisfied with the results, Mr. Wit?
Yes, Your Honor. Please proceed. Wit bows his neck and returns to his seat. The judge nods.
The defendant, as already mentioned, has been found not guilty of all charges, due to the disturbed state of the defendant's mind, clearly showing her being dangerous to and unable to function in society with any degree of independence. The court of the city of Volcadero sentences the defendant to psychiatric treatment at the White Wings Mental Hospital.
I blink. Wait, what? What? Sentence? He just said she's innocent. Bernard nods. He looks at the audience, takes in the witnesses, gives each and every last one of us a prolonged, thoughtful look, then grabs his mallet.
The case of Aaron v. the city of Volcadero is thereby closed.
He smacks the pulpit with his mallet. We leave the courtroom. As we walk down the corridor, I can hear Naomi's father loudly announcing his intent to file an appeal against the judgment. Not many people pick up the call to action. Most just ignore him. The anger's gone, burnt out during the trial, cooled down during the 4 days of waiting, and finally put to rest after the sentence was pronounced. I prick up my ears.
I hope they put her in a straitjacket. She's always such a weirdo. I guess she ended up...
They'd kill her in prison. She gets to live knowing what she did. People want to move on. They want to get on with their lives, but that much is obvious. While they sound really fucking vindictive and viciously satisfied with the fact that Lucy will never truly be able to move on herself, they don't sound like they'll seek further retribution. I look over my shoulder. In the throng, I see Millhouse with Stacy, walking along Rosemary. They're talking between themselves, too quiet for me to discern any words. I quickly turn my head away, lest they catch me looking. Just as I'm turning my head, someone bumps into me and wraps their arms around me. Reed's growls tell me what I need to know. Tell me who that is before I need even look at them. Trish, let me go. I look down at her. She shakes her head, trembling and sniffing. Let me go. I want to go home. Put my hand on her shoulders and attempt to pry her away from me. She won't budge. I glance at Rosa. Reed's already gone, having pushed towards the door just to get away from Trish. The crowd goes around me and her, with Rosa standing beside us. She's looking down at Trish, who still won't let me go.
Why did they sentence her if she's innocent?
The purple goblin mumbles into my chest.
Why?
She needs help, I say. She would have had to receive it either way.
Help me, sis. Damn it.
Rosa squeezes through the crowd and crouches next to Trish.
Trish, chica, let go of Anon.
She grabs her arms. Trish responds by clinging to me even more tightly. She hisses when Rosa tries to pull her away from me, tensing up and wagging her tail like a small, angry dog. Slowly but surely, scrutinized by the passerby all the while, we manage to get Trish to let go of me. She takes a few shaky steps back, staring at Rosa, then at me, then at Rosa again. Her eyes are wet. Her jaw is quaking.
Why are you doing this?
She mumbles, her voice wet. We want to go home, Trish. I slowly say to her. The last couple days have been rough.
They were tough to me, too.
She angrily wipes her eyes with her sleeve.
Have you thought about that?
I frown. Fucking nerve of that one. What, do you want us to go get ice cream or some shit? Trish glares at me. She scoffs and turns and starts walking away. Anon, Rosa admonishes me. Por favor, you don't have to be so mean. My world does not revolve around... It was you! Trish cries out. I pause, my head whipping around. Trish lies on the floor, shielding herself with her hands. She's cowering from Basil, who's looming over her, staring at the downed Triceratops with a wild look and wide open eyes. It's not the look in his eyes that alarms me. Neither is tail feathers puffing up, making his tail look like a dustbuster. No. It's his claws. They're out and full length. His fingers are curled up slightly. He leans over Trish, who curls up, having given up on fighting back, it seems. Basil, stop! I rush towards him. Someone else gets to him first. It's Reed. He appears out of the crowd, grabbing Basil by the collar of his suit and yanking him away with enough strength to make the tiny raptor stumble and fall. Whirling of wheels behind me, quickly approaching.
Basil, oh my god.
I stop. Rosemary wheels past me. She skids to a stop near her brother.
Mom, Dad, help!
She shouts.
Basil, what are you doing? She made Fang kill Leo. It's her fault.
Saying, Sage Basil sits up, throwing his head towards Trish with an angry growl.
Not the skinny, not that fucking drug addict. It was her.
Makes a move towards Trish, but Reed stops him by grabbing him by the shoulder and holding him tight.
Let me go, you fucking junkie piece of shit!
Basil Sage cries out.
I'll kill you, bitch! I'll kill you!
He jerks forward, breaks out of Reed's hold, and leaps at Trish with a wild, feral hiss. The next couple seconds are a blur. Reed tackles Sage away from Trish. Little Raptor cries out a throaty shriek of anger. Reed closes his arms around him in a bear hug. They start rolling around on the floor, the little raptor powerless to overcome the strength of the larger one, snapping his jaw at him in vain and attempting to bite him. Calm down, Sage, Reed says loudly and composedly. Calm down.
No! She made her do it! That bitch! I'll kill you!
Clatter of boots on marble. Cry of a woman. Curse of a man. Basil and Rosemary's folks are here. Security arrives not long after. They separate Reed and Sage. Reed has a couple cuts on him. Sage's clothes are tattered. Trish is sitting on the floor, holding her head tightly. There's a thin stream of blood streaking down her crest. She's not even looking in Basil's direction. Instead, she's staring at Reed, wide-eyed and completely shocked.
What happened here?
One of the security guards asks.
He cut me!
Trish points at Basil. Microraptor struggles in the grasp of the large dino.
You deserved it! He shrieks. And much more!
He snaps his jaw at her with a dry pop that makes my skin crawl. Trish turns pale.
I don't want to press charges, she says. I just want to go home.
She lowers her head and starts sobbing. Rosa kneels next to her. She looks over her wounds, sighs, and takes out her phone. She glances at Reed, but he only shakes his head. He only got my clothes. He looks at Sage. You're lucky. Very lucky.
Fuck you! Basil screams. Fuck both of you!
He hisses loud enough to make an echo.
A junkie and a trigger. A fitting couple!
He spits.
Please don't mind what he's saying.
Rosemary wheels herself between Basil and Trish.
He's been through a lot.
We all were, Rosemary. We all were. Basil calms down before the paramedics arrive. They take Trish away with them. They also take away Reed, despite his vehement protestations and assurances that he's unhurt. Sage is let go. After a leer at me and Rosa, he leaves with his parents and sister. Millhouse and Stacy quickly walk past us, not honoring us with even a glance. Let's go, sis, they tell Rosa. We leave the courthouse. Journalists are already waiting for us, but we find unexpected allies, namely Mo and Simone. They're waiting just outside the courthouse doors. They help us get past the crowd of the journalistic birds of prey and vicious onlookers. They shield us from stares, glares, and invectives. They escort us to Rose's car. In the rearview mirror, I see them get into Simone's truck. We get in and drive off. It's over.
And there you go.
Thanks to Talos Lives, AO3, Night Art, Snoot Club Discord, Dave and Buster's, AO3, King Cat, Snoot Club Discord for beta reading this chapter. Most sincere thanks to Castellano, Snoot Club Discord server, and Starman Super, Discord for help on this chapter. Man, I'm the only one who got the Wanting song Talent Isn't Shy playing in my head when listening to Basil threatening Trish. 2 hours of straight reading. Yeah, dog, you're getting one chapter tonight. I ain't doing another one. You're fucking out of your minds. Holy shit. Oh, damn good, bro. Thank you, thank you. Oh, man. Fantastic. Let's see. How much of a difference is the length of the chapter? Yeah, so this one's shorter. But that's not saying much, given it's none in the fucking chamber. Oh, damn. Damn. Oh, it's fair. Our girl is free, though. Kinda. She's just gonna go visit fucking Schizo. Don't worry, guys. They're gonna become friends. They probably won't become friends. And before you promised 2. I did say 2, but I also didn't expect this. I thought maybe an hour and a half. That was like 2.5 hours, dog. Holy shit. A fucking grinder of a chapter. Phenomenal chapter. That was pretty good. I like court cases. It's why I want to go back and play Ace Attorney with some people. I think that would be fun as fuck. This is a long chapter. Does stay interesting for the next few before slowing back down. I would figure. Just because we got the verdict don't mean shit's... the iron's still hot as fuck right now. Oh, guess you have to read more to find out, Humo. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. 2 weeks from now, of course. Man. Free undeservedly, in my opinion, but I'm like that, I guess. Thanks. My name is the streamer. Thanks for the reading. Yeah. In the end, Elwit. Yeah. Yeah, President, that was enough fine cooking to eat for the day. You're damn right it was. Oh, shit. I'll give my closing statements just like Mr. Gal and Mr. Witt. Whew. Crack my knuckles a little bit. Yeah, that was a fun chapter. Shit, next week... Where are we at in Punch Drunk? I feel like... Fuck. I feel like we finish up what's written Punch Drunk wise next week. I think 1 weekend we can probably wrap it up. I might have to split it into 2 days, so maybe it'll be like a Sunday, Monday type deal, but I feel like we can get that done, and then we can full sail ahead on None in the Chamber for a couple weeks till we're all caught up on this one too. Oh, fuck me. The author self-admitted he doesn't know Lucy's final fate. Seems he's trying to keep it realistic. I mean, fair enough. It's not like you can really... If you just lean into she's free, it's way too much hopium copium. And if you lean into we're gonna fucking death sentence her, people are gonna be fucking depressed, which you could go for, I guess. Judging on what the creator said, there's like 1 to 3 more chapters left before it's finished. 40 total, I believe. Yeah, so they're at 33 right now. We're 9 chapters behind technically, I think, right? I forget how the number works. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 chapters. We got 10 chapters till we're caught up. I don't remember how quickly they were pushing out updates for this I think they were starting to slow down just a bit on it, which is good for me because that means I can catch up a bit easier. But yeah, fuck, dude, this. I'm just thinking about the master cut for this. Dog, I might need to split this into parts. Fuck. Cause fuck me, dude. That's 33 chapters and these usually take us an hour. That's like fucking easily 33 hours worth of fucking reading. Dios mío. Did you see the Gal and Lucy art? I have not. Is it in the Discordio? Hold up a sec. Let me make sure I don't pull up anything ridiculous real quick. You guys can have the screen back now. Nah, 48 hour super cut all the way. Let's go. Master Cut's gonna be insane. Hell yeah, 40 hours super cut. I'll fucking do it too, is the thing. Literal days of content. Yeah, you better sit in and get into a coma. I'm gonna put this in your ear while you're fucking zonked. Could edit the streams. I mean, yeah, I edit the streams down into the supercuts, so I got that shit. Sent? Okay. Oh, I love this. Oh, I love this. This is beautiful. Oh, I love how like fucking tweaked out Lucy looks. That's hilarious. If you post it in one part, Godspeed anyone watching it in one go. It's gonna be a challenge, you see. You're absolutely gonna have to cut it into parts. We'll see how I feel. Had to stop messing with radioactive stuff in my own personal pack to listen otherwise. I would have turned to green slot for being invested staying in a rat-filled room. Lucy tweaking though. Just had to do it to him. I think let's make the master cut into episodes. Oh man, look at that, Lucy. Me and all the other Insomniacs are gonna have a field day with this one. You fucking sure are. 2 parts split in the trail. Oh man. Alright, fellas. I'm gonna go kick back in the Discord, and if Lanny's still around, go play some Minecraft with him. I'm gonna chill out, dog. I earned it. But yeah, we'll be live again Wednesday. Fuck, I might be playing Space Marines since I was sort of paid to play it at this point. So that might be what we're doing. Otherwise, fuck, I don't know. I'll figure something out. You know how it is. Ugh, cards get the yeah, kill that bot. I love it. Honestly, I don't blame Lucy for being tweaked out. Yeah, this is when she heard that Nazar was dead, and Gaul is like, this is about to be interesting. Alright. See you guys at about regular time on Wednesday. If I have to change things up at all, you know where to find me. Look at the Discord, I'll drop an announcement in there. Anybody who's in chat, be lurking otherwise, hope you had a good time watching. Hope you have a good rest of your day, night, evening, whatever time it is for you. And I'll see you on Wednesday. Until then, take care.